come to give you what you love. It's time to give you what you love. I'ma give you what you love. Give you what you love. I am sharper than a switchblade, first and last of what God made, and that's the truth. But man, keep on trying to hold me back while another chicken head come on loose. Too strong, try to do me wrong, and the last one standing will order and command you to dance. Oh, dance. Well, tell your preacher and your teacher, I'ma give you what you love. I got to give you what you love. It's time to give you what you love. Give you what you love.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Denise Clay Murray. This is The Source, and you're on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. Welcome to today's edition of The Source. I'm filling in for Andrea Lawful Sanders today, and we're going to talk a little bit about gun violence. I know that it's a topic that we talk about a lot these days in the city of Philadelphia because, let's face it, the gun violence has kind of gotten more than a little bit crazy. And what I wanted to find out, or what I wanted to talk about, was not necessarily what we want from our elected officials. I mean, we've established that we want them to do something. We want them to either put more money into the problem. We want them to create more programs. We want them to do something about gun violence. But the question becomes, what can we as a community also do to fight this problem? Because let's face it, while a lot of our elected officials live among us, some of them don't live in the exact neighborhoods that we live in. Some of them don't have the same issues that we have to deal with. And in the end, we're the ones who are the most impacted. So we should not only have a say, we should be willing to say, hey, look, what can I do? That's what we're going to talk about today. Our guests in the 1 o'clock hour are going to be Linda Miller, who was one of the organizers of the rally for urgency at City Hall last week, and Darren Tolliver, who is the Associate Director of the African American Resource Center at the University of Pennsylvania. In the 2 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking to Jamal Johnson of Stop Killing Us, who has decided that what he is going to do is bring attention to the problem by walking, no, I'm not kidding, walking from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C., just in time for the Congressional Black Caucus. And in our 3 o'clock hour, I'm sure that by now you have all heard that New York Governor Andrew Cuomo resigned from office based on the sexual harassment allegations that were leveled at him. At 3 o'clock, Jamila Bay, who was on with us yesterday to talk about this, will be coming back on to talk about what this means for New York, what this means for 2022 in terms of how the Democrats and Republicans will campaign to get control of the House and Senate, and also what this could mean for local officials who sometimes are a little bit inappropriate and think that this is still a time where you can do that and get away with it. But first, we're going to be talking about gun violence because, let's face it, even though the Cuomo story is interesting and important in a lot of ways, it's not nearly as important as what's going on here in the city of Philadelphia in terms of gun violence. So here are your numbers to call in, so that way, if you would like to participate in the conversation, you can. The local number here for the Philadelphia area is 215, and let me make sure, 215-634-8065, or toll free if you're calling from anywhere in the known universe, 866-361-0900. And if you're watching this on Facebook Live, which I hope you are, you can also leave your comments there. I really love to hear from you and hear what you have to say about everything that we're going to be talking about today. But first, the topic is gun violence. How can we as a community do what we can to bring it to an end, to slow it down, to stop it? And what can we do to make sure that our children, our seniors, ourselves are safe in our neighborhoods because we're doing all we can? Joining me are Linda Miller. She was one of the organizers of the Rally for Urgency, and I hope I got that right, that was held at City Hall last week, where a group of women got together and came to City Hall and demanded that at the very least Mayor Jim Kenney say that there was a state of urgency and act like it when it comes to the problem of gun violence. And we also have Darren Tolliver, who is the Associate Director of the African American Resource Center at the University of Pennsylvania, who has done a lot of work in this area and has worked with young people who are trying to, make the most of their situation and not end up a target or worse yet, a victim of gun violence. Thank you both for joining me this morning.
Thank you. Thanks for asking me.
Now, I guess because when we talk about the subject of gun violence, we talk about.
Hello.
Hi, it's nice of you to join us.
Welcome.
And
I can't hear you, but I hope that you can hear me.
Yes, I can. And we'll have to get that straightened out where you can't hear me. But here's the thing. When we talk about the subject of gun violence, at least from, where I am all the time, which is City Hall, we find ourselves talking about it from a perspective of what, where I am.
Unfortunately, it sounds like we may be having some technical issues because I can't hear you.
Okay. Mike, what should, wow. We're having a bit of an issue here, but
let me just make sure that, yeah, the speakers are turned up.
Okay, everybody turn their radio.
I can hear you now.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I guess hopefully we've gotten all of it straightened out.
Yes, it's all straightened out.
Okay, great. Now, both of you have been in the community working on these issues and working on other issues for a while now. What responsibility should the community take when it comes to gun violence? I mean, because there's things that we're asking our elected officials, what can we do? And I'll start with you, Ms. Miller.
That's a great question. And one of the reasons why we did the rally last Wednesday was no one has all the answers. That's the one thing. But we know that we have to have a better partnership with our elected officials to address the gun violence. I know now, and I'm sure you've read, that they've put out RFP for community organizations to apply through the criminal justice website for money for mid-sized community organizations, and the deadline is September 3rd. Well, but what they're offering is $20 million. And
right.
If there was allegedly $150 million originally on the table, it should be at least $50 million if we're serious about addressing the problem. And we know, and Denise, I'll stop and let the other gentleman talk. We know what's going on in our community better than anybody else. And unless we sit at the table with the administration, and that the majority of people at that table are community organizations and not city officials, we're not going to get the job done.
So, I guess, Darren, your $20 million sounds like a lot. You know I don't have $20 million, but and to probably some of these community groups, it sounds like a lot. But what do you, I guess, where do you see or do you see a pitfall here?
Well, first, thank you for having me on here. I appreciate talking to your audience. And one of the things I want to say is that we can't always throw money at problems. Granted, I'm happy that City Council has decided to join in, although it took them a few years to realize that we have been in the middle of a pandemic of death with regards to gun violence. I think that we have to really, really think of what are we going to do with this money that's coming in, and more importantly, how would it be disseminated? I know that there are different programs that are being offered. I know the DA's office also has programs that's being offered, and that's great. But the reality is, will it get to the root of the problem of gun violence, particularly among Black and brown boys and men in the city of Philadelphia? And that's less, right now it's just we really don't know. It's left to be said, but it's a start. I will say that it's a start. It shows that they have an investment and they care about what's going on with regards to the number of people who are being senselessly killed in the city of Philadelphia. And we have to figure out a way to target and to kind of slow down this tide of death as a result to gun violence, senseless gun violence in Philadelphia.
Now, these are organizations that are already in the community and doing things that are eligible for this money. But what can you, I guess, the thing that always seems to stop me is it can't also just be organizations and government. It has to be individual people trying to do something about this problem as well, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, what I would say is this, again, I don't want people to think that, oh, wow, we're now all of a sudden we're receiving this this trove of money that's being allocated towards gun violence. But let's move back from the government's, as you alluded to, the government's responsibility. At some point, this is a collective we. This is a we responsibility. This is, we have to be accountable for what is actually happening. But before we even get to that, before putting the cart before the horse, we have to really come to an understanding of the antecedents that is causing the root causes of what is happening today. And these aren't the same root causes that was happening in the early 1990s, late 80s, where we had the highest gun violence in the city of Philadelphia. We're at a new time right now. And unless we put our heads together and we invite everyone at the table, from community activists to scholars to public officials, we're not going to solve this problem. We have to figure out a way, collective we, have to figure out a way of communicating with those who are in positions or who have committed crime to figure out what is going on and start to listen and find out what are the motivations behind these killings. And I think until we do that, no amount of money is going to help.
Now, Ms. Miller, after you all had the rally at City Hall, was there any kind of impetus to go and maybe talk to our public officials or to come up with something that's next that the community can do? And if so, what is it? And can you talk about it?
One of the things that we talked about was one word, even when the gentleman said about just throwing money at a problem, was that if you actually establish a group of people on a regular basis, you can't just like we did the rally. We knew that the rally wasn't going to be the end-all for what the problem was. You have to establish, first of all, communication, not only between the administration and the community, but also to the police department. We proposed that there would be an emergency response team that would be comprised of citizens, 60% versus administration, and it would be responsible for development of a plan to expend the allocated funding that's coming into our community so that we could have some visible differences occur. The one thing that when we marched on Wednesday was, our concern is when you put out an RFP in the city of Philadelphia, and all of us know that, the process is sometimes mind-boggling. Oftentimes that money does not get to the communities that need it. We need to make sure that when our people are applying for these RFPs or grants, that their funding is received and somebody at the administration level hears them and makes it happen. But again, Denise, we as people, all of us are responsible for what's going on in our community. And just like we stepped up last week, we know we're not the only ones stepping up. We know that there's community groups around the city that are trying to do their part. But it's never enough because we've let it go for so long to turn the other way to say, oh, we've got a problem, but no one was directly addressing it. And it can't be a Band-Aid effect. It's got to be everybody's on board. Everybody's addressing it. Everybody's speaking the same language to address the problem. And if there's still people in our community that are doing what they're not supposed to be doing, then we need to step up and say, look, we know that Johnny's doing this on a regular basis. We know that this is happening in our community. And we also know that we're not creating all the guns that come into our community. We need the federal people to step in and stop the guns also from getting into our community. So it's all of us that have to play a part in addressing this problem because it didn't just happen overnight.
Okay, we actually have some callers. On line one, we have Maurice from Southwest. Thank you for joining us, Maurice, and welcome to The Source.
Hi, Maurice.
Hi, Maurice.
Hey, Maurice.
Maurice?
Hello?
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Hi. Well, what would you like to say? Okay.
He got to get his audio together.
Okay, I guess it seems to be the theme.
It's okay.
Hello?
Well, until we can get him together, I do want to say that everything she said is absolutely correct. I do believe that this is a collective we problem. But more importantly, with regards to to the political people who are or should be having this as a priority, if not the main priority on their agenda, I just don't think that we see enough. And when I'm saying political, I'm talking more on the state level and maybe possibly the federal level. We've had a number of politicians come out and they've said the same things. They've done they've walked the walk and but I haven't seen any type of outside of the box approach. For example, Pennsylvania is Philadelphia is one of 67 counties in the state of Pennsylvania, right? We know that guns, as she mentioned, guns aren't something that, we just grow in our backyards. They come from somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. And, so we challenge state officials, whether they're senators, state, representatives, to go up to Harrisburg and to look out for the best interests of the Philadelphia citizens. And I just don't think that we see enough pushback with them. We always hear, well, we're just one in 67th within the Commonwealth, one county. But the reality is we are the biggest county in the Commonwealth, and we are affected by gun violence more than any other county in the Commonwealth. So what does that say? Do you have the ability to go up there and try to make things happen that's going to make it safer for your constituents in the city of Philadelphia? Or do you need to move out the way and let someone else, who's more progressive, who's more who's dedicated and passionate about changing gun laws in the state of Pennsylvania? Nothing is impossible, and I'm tired of hearing that it's impossible.
Okay.
Denise, I just want to add to that, and I agree that things have to happen not only at the state and also at the federal level, but I also know that Philadelphia has been lobbying for years to get the gun laws changed in Philadelphia County. and to make it more difficult to even buy a gun in Philadelphia, and it's gotten shot down by the state. So we have to make sure that whatever we do not only is efficient for Philadelphia County, because people in Beaver County don't care about what's happening in Philadelphia County.
Right.
And that's a sad state of affairs in our state right now.
Okay, we've got to take a quick break. Fulani, Elias, and Dee, I see you, and we'll get right to you right after the break. But before we go, before we take this time out, we'd like for you to join WURD for the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour. This year, we celebrate West Oak Lane, Mantua, Northwest, and North Philly. Wow, okay. Tiffany Bacon will broadcast live from a different neighborhood each Friday from 10 a.m. to noon. Our next stop is in North Philly at the Martin Luther King Recreation Center at 2101 Cecil B. Moore Avenue on Friday, August 13th. You can pick up voter registration information, meet special guests, and stand with WURD and be a part of the movement to amplify the voice of the Black community. Show your support and join or renew your onWURD membership on site. That's the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour at the Martin Luther King Recreation Center from 10 a.m. to noon on Friday, August 13th. And we'll be back with more of The Source in a moment.
Philadelphia Families PHL Pre-K, the city's free quality pre-K program, is growing and now enrolling. Over 160 pre-K centers are ready to serve children this year. There are no income limits for this free pre-K program. Children who are 3 or 4 years old as of September 1 can enroll. Call 844-PHL-PRE-K or visit phlprek.org to learn more and find a quality pre-K center. That's 844-745-7735. This program is made possible by the Philadelphia Beverage Tax.
Geico presents Motorcycle Word of the Day. Today's word is tank slapper. Is a tank slapper used to describe a handlebar wobble? Or is it a motorcycle joke that is so funny you just have to slap the gas tank with your hand as you laugh? As in,
oh man, Daryl told me a great joke last night. It was hilarious. It was something about a dog wearing sunglasses. I wish I could remember. It was a real tank slapper.
Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
If you've got an insurance question, you could talk to your Nana, but she'd probably just tell you how she insured her couch from stains by covering it with plastic. Or you could talk to your local Geico agent. They'll give you a different kind of warm and fuzzy, with personalized assistance for all your insurance needs, like how you could be saving on your policies. So let your Nana cover her couch in plastic, and let a local Geico agent help cover you, but not in plastic. To find a Geico agent near you, visit geico.com/local.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD.
You're listening to The Source on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM, WURD.
And we're back with more of The Source. I'm Denise Clay Murray, and I'm filling in for Andrea Lawful Sanders here on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. And we're going to go to the phone lines right off the bat. We're here with Darren Tolliver of the African American Resource Center at the University of Pennsylvania, and Linda Miller, one of the organizers of the Rally for Urgency at City Hall last week. And we have Fulani from East Falls on line 2. Thank you for joining us on The Source, Fulani.
Yes, good afternoon to everyone. I wanted to chime in because I've been doing volunteer work over the last 30 years, and I can't just take because the elders have really been able to support me, and I really give hats off to them because I couldn't have done none of this by myself without my mom, my dad, and a lot of people in the community, Miss Joyner, Brother Sabor, Muhammad, Leon Williams, all of us used to do a lot of things, and Dr. Perlman. I had a lot of elders to help me, so I'm just going to move fast forward. So the last 5 years, I did a volunteer program at Randolph High School. And what I see as and I was able to listen to young ladies. I do sister circles. And in the sister circles, sisters sit and they talk. But was even able to engage with some of their boyfriends. It's a whole whole lot, and this is really about listening to the young people. One of the biggest barriers I face here in Philadelphia, because I have colleagues that live in Cali, California, New York, and I'm always hired. I do volunteer work here, but I get paid outside of my city. Now, the biggest problem here in Philadelphia is you can be at a rec center. I was at Guskin Lake, Kendrick Rec Center doing free programs at the library. And what happens here, we have a new program here. And even with high schools, if the principal does not want your program here, your program would not be in that school, and your program would not be at that rec center. They have too much privilege to tell us what our children need and what should be in our community. I have an elder right now wanting to teach the girls how to do quilting and sewing. We don't have quilting and sewing no more. You can make money. We're teaching you sustainable skills. But the reason why they're not available, I thought I sent 10 letters to our mayor. He has it. I gave him a blueprint. I sent him letters, and they always say, are you evidence-based? I'm evidence-based. I'm straight from Philly. I'm from Philadelphia. I graduated from Overbrook High School, went straight to the United States Army. So I did, and I came back and served my community. So at the end of the day, you got a lot of us that's around here and a lot of elders that want to help out. But when we come and we try to present, you get they fund the same programs over and over and over. And nobody's listening to the young people. The young people are telling us what's needed. But they bring in this, and you got to be politically connected in order to get funding, or you may have to know somebody, and it's not really about, you got to know somebody basically to get things. But if you're going to do a program here in Philadelphia, if you're not going to give us funding, don't hinder us. Don't be a barrier, because we pay money, we pay tax dollars. I'm a homeowner. Why can't I use the rec center? I was told last year I had a group of children I could not use the rec center at Kendrick. I went to Catherine. I think she was supposed to be the top person. I sent a letter to the mayor. I told my council person, and they can do this. They can tell you they don't want no program. And it's sad, and that's what one of our biggest problems is. Yes, we have the gun violence, but just think about, if anybody in here is in their 50s or older, think of what Philadelphia, look at your yearbook. I bring my yearbook in 1982, and I show the children today. We had over 100 activities in our school.
Okay.
Every time something's built here in Philadelphia, what do we build? We don't have a skating range. And then we say, oh, why is Malika, why is Johnny doing all this killing? Because they don't have, what do y'all have for them to do? We don't have a lot of things that we had when we were younger children. And another thing the children told me, they said we don't get a lot of old heads. We don't get to meet old heads, and we don't get to meet people that's not trying to be our friends. We don't get to meet a lot of elders. How many of y'all know somebody over 70? A lot of my young ladies, they don't know nobody over 70.
Okay. Well, thank you, Falami, because you make a lot of really good points here. And I'm going to toss this to Ms. Miller and Mr. Tolliver. She makes a lot of good points about what our kids don't necessarily have access to, and maybe that's a place where the community can help.
Well, I agree with her 100%, and I also know that we have to do a better job of connecting with young people in our communities to find out what they really need and find out what they want. And a lot of times, just because we have a way of doing things, there's always another way to address the problem. And I even saw in the paper this past week that they're going to be having a task force reaching out to young people this week. And one of the organizations is called the NOMO Foundation at 925 North Broad Street. And
yes,
they're having a meeting this Thursday, reaching out to young people. And I hope young folks show up, because just like we showed up at a rally, young folks should show up. Say, you're tired of it. You're not taking it no more. You want to do something, because this is your city. We're going to be long and gone when you guys are still here. So I agree, young folks are needed. I also agree young folks are stepping up, but they're not getting the attention they need or the support. And we need to make sure that when they have organizations, programs, and new ideas, we need to be able to make room and have them lead the charge rather than us lead the charge. So I agree 100%.
Okay. We have Elias from North Philly. Thank you for joining us on The Source, Elias.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm always on the radio debating, and I'm like pedal to the metal. I have, this is what it comes down to, okay? Have you ever heard any of our politicians for the past 30-something years that look like us, Black Latino politicians regarding this violence and these crimes that are being committed in our community by our own folks, did they ever announce and make a campaign and awareness and challenge radio stations that only promote degrading music that degrades women? We call ourselves the N-word. We glorify drug dealing, money, material things. Do you ever hear any of our politicians say, to make the awareness, and this is my idea, and challenging these radio stations to put out commercials? The government taxes. They have enough money to pay for commercials announcing and denouncing anyone. If you see any drug dealing in your community, not say something, see something, say something, that's too soft. If you see any drug dealing activities or any homes that's harboring drug activity, report it to the police, report it to the authorities, okay? Because drug dealers do not have the technology to screen your phone calls, okay, or your cell phone call, okay? We need to wake up and be real blunt about announcing this, okay? Next question. The white government is white government. We as Black and Latino city officials, all we are is puppets, okay? Look what they're allowing. Look what the white government is allowing to legalize marijuana. You know what their agenda is? Let them smoke. Let them get high all day. Because guess what? There's no legislation or there's no bill to notify and let corporate world not to deny anyone that tests positive for marijuana in corporate world. So you have a lot of our young Black and Latino kids that want to get out of the streets and take trade and go to a trade school, okay? Once you're in a trade school, you get your licenses for refrigeration, air conditioning, plumbing license, electrical license. Guess what? Where are you going to get a job at? In corporate world, okay? In corporate world. And guess what they do in corporate world? They drug test. Now this young man who's done 9 months of being in a trade school, working hard, want to be out of the street, when he goes to corporate world, because no one is giving him a warning that they do drug testing. There's a lot of our young kids that don't know this, young men and women. Then they get tested, or the corporate world employers say, just keep in mind we do drug testing. Now what happens to that young man? He's going to feel low to the lowest. And guess what? He's going to be denied the job, and guess where he's going to end up back? Working in a Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's, or guess what? Drug dealing again, okay? So we got to watch what we ask for, okay? And another thing I want to bring up, if I have time, which is critical, okay? Mm-hmm. Where is Meek Mills and all of the gangster rappers, Latino gangster rappers, Black gangster rappers, that it's part of enabling the crime, developing the minds of our children with crime every day, okay? Where are they to make awareness in a campaign and go to Power 99 or whatever radio station? Latino radio station has degrading rap music too, okay? And making a campaign and a commercial saying, hey, boys and girls, this is Jay-Z or Meek Mills or whoever those gangster, Cardi B's and all that. Respect yourself, respect education, and stay away from drug dealing and guns. Respect your community. Keep your community clean. You will never hear a peep out of them, ever, okay? We need to challenge them, and we need somebody to challenge them and tell them to come on, bring it. You know what's going to happen? They're going to pass on that because it defeats the purpose of what they're putting out there for our folks. Right now, as we speak on this radio station, a lot of people should put it in Power 99 or Latino radio station and listen to the degrading, deplorable music that's out there going in the minds of our children every day instantaneously. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren, did you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I did. I think that, the system in terms of, radio, I mean, that's a money-making business. Their job is to make money at all costs. And it's big business. And unfortunately, they may not see as much as they say. They may not see the same principles that we may see in terms of what our reality is. So they're going to continue. So I don't look for them to be the ones to be the change makers. They're not. I will say with an artist like Meek Mills, he was involved in prison reform and he's done some things. But I think it starts home. We are so used or adapt at pointing the finger at people who we think or society thinks should be the gatekeepers or the people who should be the leaders, and I put that in quotes, of a movement of change. And the change starts within. It starts with that mirror, right? So we can't continue to keep deflecting and looking for other people. The second thing I will say this, and this is important to me, I think that we have some extraordinarily bright, young minds who are more apt at participating in programs, STEM type programs, than recreational activities that's always and historically been given to Blacks when things aren't correct. Let's give them a basketball program. Let's give them let's open up the recreation center. And I think that we're at a point where that's kind of old. We need to really start thinking outside of the box. Somebody mentioned, the caller earlier mentioned that she had a problem getting into certain schools. And let me tell you something, that is so true. Some of the provisions, and it may be some of the issues that we may see with this new grant that's being offered by the city council. There are so many loopholes and boundaries to cross. I am an Ivy educated clinician by trade, right? And we offered our services to the city of Philadelphia through the school district. And what they went through and what they wanted us to go through was utterly ridiculous. We took the same approach to to Cheltenham Township, and it wasn't even a thought. It was like, we need you, let's go. And that's where the issue is. There's too many barriers, too many great programs that people want to participate and offer, but unfortunately, with all these policies and provisions in place, it just makes it that much difficult. And I'm a little afraid that even with these grants that are being disseminated, you're still going to find that kind of barrier that are going to prevent people from saying, you know what, I have to go through all this, it's just not worth it, or I'm unable to do it. And that's the part that's going to hurt our young, impressionable minds.
Okay, thank you. We have Dee from Winfield on line 1. Welcome to The Source, Dee. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. How is everyone?
Fine, how are you?
As a 63-year-old man, I have done a lot of time, being incarcerated, Pennsylvania State Prison. And I remember having a little guy where was he from? He was from Pittsburgh. And, he was running crazy in the jail, and I pulled him to the side, and I said, look, come in the cell with me. So I kind of just guided this little guy, 19 years old. The boy told me one day, he said, look, hey, I had never sat down at the dinner table and ate dinner with my family. And I was like, you never did what? He said, no. He said, because I never knew my father, right? And my mom was a crackhead. And I went out to sell drugs to take care of my little sister. And that, really, really done something to me, right? And, we have a problem with parents. When I was coming up, my mom would come in my room and tear my whole room upside down. And I'd be like, Mom, what are you looking for? This is not your house. This is mine. You just stay here. She would hit me off like that. But we have to do better with our children. You know what I mean? And I think that the problem really starts at home. It starts at home. We have to start. I see parents now let their children sell drugs, accept the drug money. You know what I mean? But soon as he's murdered, she's howling and screaming, oh, my baby, you knew what your baby was doing. You should have put a stop to that. We need Black men to step up. You know what I mean? We act like we are afraid of our children. Like we are petrified of our children. They can do what they want to do. I was in the store one day, and little guy, he must have been 5 foot tall. He had this long white shirt on, and when I walked in, he didn't see me. He turned around.
Excuse me, Dee. I'm going to have to ask you to hold on to that story for just a second because we got to go to break. You're listening to The Source on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. I'm Denise Clay Murray, and we'll be back in a moment.
Get in and get seen at the Einstein Orthopedics Fracture Care Clinic. If you think you've broken a bone or have been told by your doctor that you have a fracture, the Einstein Fracture Care Clinic offers same-day, in-person, or telehealth appointments. We don't just give you peace of mind. Einstein Orthopedics provides answers when you need them. Visit einstein.edu/fracturecare to learn more. Hey there, beautiful. Have you had severe hair loss? Do you have a scalp disorder? Is your hair thinning around the edges and crown? If you answered yes to any of these questions, give us a call at 215-225-2442 to schedule a consultation with Babes Holistic Hair Salon located at 3117 North Broad Street. Babes Holistic Hair Salon is dedicated to improving your inner and outer beauty. This ad is brought to you by the North Broad Renaissance and Truist Foundation.
Morning, Mama. How you feeling?
Great, and I'm ready for you today.
I'm checking in on you. Morning meditation?
Check.
Dressed and ready to work out?
Check.
Check your blood pressure yet?
And check.
Boom! Great job, Mom. And about those gold earrings?
No, ma'am.
Now more than ever, it's important that we protect our hearts and the hearts of those we love. Monitor your blood pressure daily and help each other stay motivated. Rally your squad to take the online pledge at releasethepressure.org. Brought to you by the Release the Pressure Coalition and the Ad Council.
Word Radio Digital Tip of the Month with Stephanie Humphrey. Brought to you by Comcast.
You might be enjoying the hot days of summer, but your smartphone probably isn't. Hotter temperatures can potentially damage your phone, so here are some things you can do to keep it cool. Don't leave your phone in direct sunlight or locked in a car if possible. And if you don't absolutely need it, ditch the smartphone case too. That can easily trap heat. Change the settings to lower the brightness, turn off data, put your phone in airplane mode, or try to do less high-powered activities like gaming. If you do notice your smartphone overheating, turn it off and take out the battery if you can. And don't try to cool it down by putting it in a refrigerator or freezer. Just keep your phone in a cool area for a while until it returns to room temperature. Stay cool, stay tuned to WURD for more tips, and stay connected with us at wordradio.com.
You're listening to The Source
on WURD Radio.
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
And we're back. I'm Denise Clay Murray. This is The Source, and you're on listening to WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. And Dee, I'm sorry I had to cut you off so we could go to break, but please continue. Dee?
Years old, probably about 5 foot tall, had this long white T-shirt on, and when I walked in, he didn't see me. So when he turned around, he was surprised, and he grabbed his gun there. I mean, the gun was like a cannon. And I'm like, this is what, yeah, this is, you know what I mean? Like, this is what's going on. You know, when I was coming up, we didn't have guns. You know, we fought. You know what I mean? We had our little knuckles, and we fought. And, you know, whoever lost, you know, we picked them up and dusted them off and, you know, might have wished and had a drink or something like that. But, you know, times are different now. You know what I mean? And the people just don't care. The parents don't care. You know what I mean? And I really think it starts with home. You know, correct your child. You know, give your child a curfew. You know what? I wish that one night a month, everybody would come outside their house on a Friday and a Saturday night and turn the porch light on. Everybody just come out. You know, I mean, we have to stop this madness. The politicians are not going to do it. The police is not going to do it. It's our problem. You know what I mean? I mean, these white cops that live in the Northeast, you know, they don't care what goes on in North Philly. They really don't. This is our problem. We have to fix the problem. No one is going to do it for us. You know, so right now I'm trying to get 10 guys, ex-offenders. I want all ex-offenders, guys that come home, don't have a job, you know, and start a cleaning service. I'm in North Philly. I'm in Temple area. It's dirty as heck down here. You know what I mean? Temple won't clean it up. So it's our neighborhood. We got to clean it up. You know, so that's all I have to say. And
well, thank you, Dee.
Hopefully you can give me some feedback.
Well, thank you, Dee. You actually said a lot that makes a lot of sense. And I will ask, you know, do we have, I mean, he makes a good point about parenting. And I'm not a parent, and I don't even play one on TV. So I can't really speak to that, but, you know, Mrs. Miller, I know you're a parent. When you hear stuff like that, you know, what do you think?
I'm a parent and a grandparent and an aunt. It's always easy to say that, but the unfortunate thing is, Denise, between the crime bill of the 90s, between the crack cocaine that came in after that, and between the unequal criminal justice center, our families, as you say, quote unquote, that sit down at the table and have a meal every night, have been torn apart. You have two mothers working 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And I'm not making excuses for what we don't do. I'm just saying that there's some things we can do but are not always able to do because of the environment that we're in. And that's the facts. It's easy to say what we should be doing as families, and the ones that have family members in the household that can sit at that table or set up that dinner or take care of the children. They should do that, and they should continue to do more and help other people. It's sad that there's so many of our families that just aren't able to do that.
That's true.
I think our children are being raised, and Linda, she brings a great point. Our families aren't able to do it because I think that our children are being raised by social media. You know, parents
social
are really
media,
quick,
exactly, and their peers.
To put the you know, an iPad, a tablet. You know, it used to be a time when, you know, parents would say, you know what, go in your room. And, you know, for me to go in my room was no TV. I had to read comic books and magazines, and that's how I actually, you know, honed my reading skills and got better at reading and writing and things like that. But nowadays, you send a kid to the room, they are looking forward to going to the room. In fact, they don't want to come out the room because they're more connected socially than they are to anything else physically in the neighborhood. And that's a problem. And then what they see, they're being so impressed and influenced by social media and certain things. I sent you a link to a video.
Yeah, I saw that.
Who are bragging about shooting up blocks and take pride in it and take pride in death. And that the messages are all, Marvin Gaye mentioned the message in the music, and I forgot what other artists, but it's, if you listen to what these guys are saying, they're telling you who they're shooting up. They're telling you what they're doing. In the music videos, they're showing you how it's done. They're showing videos of people in caskets that they have murdered, and they brag about this. We have lost our way in some way, shape, or form, and a lot of it is because of being Americanized. We have to come back and accept some sort of cultural responsibility and do what Brother Eric Grimes always talks about. We need to have a cultural resurrection. We need to start tapping into who we are and our foundation and what our villages are, because right now, our villages aren't healthy at all.
Okay.
And some of the elders aren't healthy in terms of disseminating and passing valuable information on to the next generation. So we are in a quandary. We really are. And we've got to say that this is us, and we have to fix this. We can't hope for the police. We know the police can do some, they have a lot of strategic initiatives, and I think they should be focused more on doing focused deterrence to actually, kind of minimize it. It worked around 10 years ago, worked well. The numbers were dropping significantly. We had over 325 homicides right now, right? Mm-hmm. Back 10 years ago, we were approaching 325 for the year. Wow. So something in that continues, something happened. And I don't think it's a lot of things, employment, COVID, is another thing. A lot of things are happening, but we have to figure out within us, what are we doing? And it's those conversations, the mom and pops, living room, being able to talk, have open and honest and transparent dialogue with our kids and expectations. And we don't have that right now. Social media is delivering that, and that's unfortunate.
Okay, we have a call from Gary on line 2 from Southwest. Thank you for joining us on The Source, Gary.
All right, thank you for taking my call. I was going to make a comment on one of the previous callers. He talked about the music and the videos that are detrimental. That's real, because those videos and a lot of that music, that's what's raising our children. When I go outside, I think I'm seeing one of those videos because they do have an impact. Some people may not think so, say we use that as an excuse. No, that detrimental music, that rap music, a lot of it, And the videos, when I see those videos, the way the young ladies dress, the way they talk, the way they carry themselves, the way young men carry themselves, that is detrimental. We've constantly been under attack. I think you mentioned earlier, like the drugs that were put in our communities, the crack, cocaine, and all that. Our people have always been under attack. And we need to understand that and realize that and stop pretending and blaming the victim all the time. Yes, we're responsible for our actions, but we're constantly being bombarded with this negativity. And I just wanted to say, too, our elected officials, with this state of crime that's going on in the city, it should be an emergency situation. Nothing has been done. They have put together absolutely nothing to fight this crime. So why are they in office? Why are we paying their salaries? I mean, I can go on and on. The school system is poor. I retired a few years ago. I work for the city controller. We audit the schools. I go out to the schools. I mean, those schools are deplorable. They don't care about us. And until we come together and say enough is enough, and we need to get those people out of office, and a lot of them look like us, who are not doing anything for us. We have to stop blaming us for our condition. Yes, we're responsible for our actions, but we have so much that is being bombarded in our communities. And as far as the police go, I can call in terms of drug house down the street. Let's be honest, and I know this for a fact. There have been police officers that kind of like on the tape there, and they say, hey, Gary's the one that's been calling. Guess what? Gary ends up missing. Why aren't they out of those cars that we pay for, air-conditioned cars and vans, and walk your behind in the neighborhood, get to know the people? You'll know who the drug dealers are and the problem people are. They know already, but they don't care. Just like when they changed the residency rule and the white officers came from the suburbs, and there was a Temple student that rode with one of the officers one day, and she laid it all out because the white officer laid into how he felt about black people and how we're nothing. So let's get real. Thank you.
Okay,
These
thank you
officers
for
are scared. I will say that these officers, and I know I hear directly from detectives, good friend Lamont over as a sergeant, same thing. You know, they're afraid. They are afraid because they have these ghost guns, and they have everything, and they're attacking police officers at will. Never have I seen so many cops get shot at. So they are just as afraid as we are, and that presents a problem.
Okay. Woody on line 3 from Philadelphia, thank you for joining us here on The Source.
Wow, this is just to show how everything happens, 1, 2, 3, and sometimes you have to make balances. I just wanted to thank you, Ms. Denise, for having this program, the brother from the University of Penn, Mr. Tolliver, and also Ms. Linda Miller. What has occurred has to do with gentrification. Gentrification is a process to remove the inner city and make it completely with people with dollars and cents that are going to be able to pay these real estate taxes. The key is to get the long-term residents out of position. When you take away long-term residency, you take away the history of your area. Now, what I like about WURD, they're going around to these different facilities, and they were, I think, at Marian Anderson the other day. Now they're going to do Dr. King's next. The point I'm making is I would love to talk with Brother Tolliver because I got some ideas as it relates to the history. See, if you have nothing to be proud of, then you have nothing to be proud of. Yeah. You have to have your history in front of you. Now, I wrote a letter to Donald Trump. He made it clear, and I always state this, but I want you guys to check it out. He said, African Americans, what the hell do you have to lose? Your schools are all messed up. You can't get money from your banks, and you're being gentrified out of your neighborhoods. I alone am the only one that can fix it. So on September the 25th, 2016, page 10A, Philadelphia Tribune, I would love for you to read that article. That's 9/25/2016, and that's a letter to Donald Trump. Also, Mr. Biden made a comment that if you're not black enough, if you don't vote, he told the young man, vote Democrat. Well, I wrote a letter to him. That was June 2nd, 2020. June 2nd, 2020. So if you can check those two articles out, Mr. Tolliver, I would love to speak with you because I have some ideas that I can't just say over the air, but I think between yourself and Ms. Miller, and Denise, thank you for sitting in for my favorite person. She does a great job, and all of you are doing great work. But my website is Barbershop Talk, HFD, like HarryFrankDavid.org. And what we do is to show the value of human life. human life is human life. And whether you like it or not, we're on a dot in the vastness of space floating around as we speak. And the only home is Earth. So one race called human, many cultures and ethnicities, one cult called melanin, many shades. We just have a lot of prejudiced people that don't want to face that fact that we're one human race and that life is the highest, human life is the highest form of life on Earth. And we should learn to honor it, respect it, and everything else is going to fall in place. But we got to start with our history because they're wiping it out with gentrification.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for calling in, Woody. And
Yes, ma'am.
kind of to wrap this up, I guess my question is, what's next? Do you know the money is coming through the city for the community groups, and there's all this stuff coming up, but what's next? You know, what's next for all of this?
Let me just go first, and I just want to say that, Denise, thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for the other callers as well as the other guests. We need to be outraged. That's number one. We need to make sure that our elected officials understand the urgency of the violence in our community. Over 510 people have been shot this year. And that's not urgent enough. I don't know what is. And we need to make sure that the administration doesn't just hand out peanuts to community groups and say, oh, well, we did our job and that's it. They need to be there hand in hand with the community, with the district attorney, with the police department to make sure that we're addressing the violence and stop just doing press conferences about what we can do or creating another ad hoc committee, because our community doesn't believe it, and they shouldn't. But our community needs to step up, be outraged. If you can help to stop the violence, do something. Don't just sit back and say nothing.
Okay, Mr. Talbot?
Absolutely. I love your words, Linda. Thank you so much for that. I think that, and she's right in terms of, political people. We do have some fighters who are in council doing things like Kiana Johnson and Curtis Jones, a few other ones, and Councilwoman Gaultier. But I think that we really, really need to look at ourselves and figure out what do we need to do. What is it that we're doing and what's happening? What's the bigger picture? The last caller, Brother Woody, mentioned gentrification. And he's right. My parents came up from the South during the second migration. And I constantly keep pushing the reasons we helped build this city to where it is right now.
Okay.
Our families, our grandparents, we built this city. And now they want us out. They want all the money, the oligarchs want the money centralized in Philadelphia. Okay. And that means that somebody has to leave. So a lot of this is, unfortunately, by plan.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to end it on that note. And thank you both for coming on. We have Darren Tolliver from the Center for the African American Resource Center at the University of Pennsylvania. I knew I was going to mess that up. And so Linda Miller, who was one of the organizers of the Rally for Urgency last week at City Hall. And I know that right now our producer Mike is like, Denise, I'm really mad at you, so I'm going to take a break because I'm late. And
Mike, it's not our fault. We apologize.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more of The Source here on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
Join the African American Chamber of Commerce for their signature Building Back Black initiative, a national convening of mayors on Wednesday, August 11th at 9 a.m. This is a free online event featuring mayors from across the country, moderated by 6 ABC Action News anchor Shari Williams and hosted by the African American Chamber of Commerce President Regina A. Hairston. This town hall reflects on the current state of black businesses in these cities with highly dense African American populations. Additionally, local Philadelphia thought leaders are featured in the special, providing local insight and perspective. This is a free online event hosted in partnership with WURD Radio's Livelihood Initiative. Visit mayorsconvening2021.eventbrite.com to register today.
Kamasi Washington brings his fall tour to the Met Philly, one of only 6 dates on the East Coast. Don't miss Kamasi Washington October 20th at the Met Philly. Tickets on sale now as of July 30th. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy. Pandemic COVID-19. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a serious time. You know, we are at a strange time in our lives when we have to make decisions, really important decisions about our lives and the lives of our family and our friends and neighbors and strangers. And you know, making decisions like that is no play. So I'm going to say this little rap for you. We call it a poem or a rap. I hope that when I'm finished saying it, you'll be able to say it also. Pandemic time, the vaccine is free. Get your vaccination as quick as can be. The Delta variant may be a new concern. Be willing to take time. Be willing to learn. And I'm going to tell you something. We all better be willing to learn, and we all better be willing and ready to take that vaccine. This is no playtime. And I would say from the bottom of my heart, amen, amen, and amen.
The Black Words Book Club. Word Radio's conversation on books that explore the African American experience through social, economic, and environmental justice issues. Tune in the second Tuesday of every month on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. The Black Words book for September is Race Against Time, The Politics of a Darkening America by Keith Boykin. Be sure to listen live as Nick Taliaferro will hold a contest for a giveaway book bundle that consists of 4 titles from Kensington's Defina's Authors of Color's newest release. Don't miss it, Tuesday, September 14th on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Attention 4Word members, get your copy and receive a 20% discount when you purchase at Harriet's Bookstore or Hakeem's Bookstore. For more information on the Black Words Book Club, visit wordradio.com. The Black Words Book Club is sponsored by Defina. Defina is an imprint of Kensington Publishing Corporation, America's independent publisher, concentrating on authors of color. Be there this Friday at the Summer Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour and stand with Word Radio to amplify voices of the Black community as a digital 4Word member for as low as $5 per month. And receive a free gift for signing up. See you on Friday and join Tiffany Bacon, 10 a.m. till noon at the Martin Luther King Recreation Center, 2101 Cecil B. Moore Avenue. Or visit wordradio.com. Start or renew your 4Word membership today. This is Word Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source
on Word Radio.
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Hi, we're back with more of The Source. I'm Denise Clay Murray, and you're listening to WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. And we're in the second hour of today's edition of The Source. And we have a couple of calls that have just come in. We have George from Center City on line 1. Hi, George. Welcome to The Source.
Fine, Denise. How are you, dear?
I'm good.
And you have done a wonderful job as you normally do. And I was trying to get in on your guest, you know. Mm-hmm. Let me say this like I said before, Denise, and people don't like the way I say it. And the ones who say it is just because they have no say-so in anything. They're not going to get at the table, and they're not going to be appointed to anything about this money. It don't work that way. You know that, Denise. You be in city council more than anybody. One, you got to go to Drexel and get that kid that did the convention center when we had the vaccines going on. Mm-hmm. He's one of the best at Drexel at doing these applications. If you look at that application for that money, you got to have at least all kinds of degrees to fill it out. So how is some community person going to get any money? Which is designed? They're not getting a dime. Just like I told them about that other money, they wasn't getting no money. You can't fight the system and think the system's going to pay. It don't work that way, you know. Just not going to work that way. Let's get to the gun violence. First of all, who can stop the gun violence? If the police want to stop the gun violence, they can stop that in like a week. It's just as plain and simple as that. Everybody want to make like it's some real complicated story, but it's not. Everybody want to hustle. These death hustlers, you see how much they have slowed down since we've been pulling the, you know, these the sheep with the wolves clothing. You know, we've been pulling it off layer by layer. They're shutting up. You know why? They want to keep getting their funding. And URD is exposing them for who and what they are. So let me tell you, first of all, Josh Shapiro busted 25 gun houses. 25 gun houses, 24 of them he had to give each and every one of them their stuff back. You know why? It's not considered guns. You know, how you going to take something from somebody because it's not that? You can't even bust them now. You got lawyers going in there now talking about their replicas. So you can't even charge them where the city was only charging them $300, finding them for having a place that is not zoned to sell these type of items. So how do you really stop it? I mean, there's ways to stop it, you know, shut it down, but the city's not willing to do that. Because why? Violence is a business for them. They're going to all run off this violence piece, and they're all going to sit there and talk, and the mayor cares less. Ever since he got embarrassed and disrespected him and McNesby, they've been on a vengeance. And you know, these black folks keep saying, act like they chewing on a pig feet bone or something, sucking on it. They're not talking about, man, ain't nobody. Yeah, that's how nasty they are. They sit up there talking about, oh, man, there ain't nobody got to sit down with McNesby and the mayor and say nothing. I would never do it. You're right, because you never would get in the room to do it. But those idiots who disrespected the mayor and disrespected McNesby, they showed you how much they meant what they said when they brought an unqualified woman in here. You wanted a black woman, he gave it to you. You wanted a black female police commissioner, he gave it to you. But you never mentioned the word qualified. They're in the room howling and screaming, Denise, but they never say, bring us the most qualified black woman, you know, that you can find. They didn't do that. You know, they brought the most unqualified black woman in here they could find to do the job. How do you go from managing 700 people to 7,000 people? Do the math. It just doesn't make sense. Then you put in her contract to make sure that it's squeezed, that she stayed, all she has to do is 1 year, and she invested. That means that she gets a pension for $325,000 a year. When she turns of age, that means she gets $35,000 a month for the rest of her life, that the city of Philadelphia taxpayers got to pay. But that's right. You can't talk about her. She's a black female. You know, she's a woman. You can't talk about her. That's what Kenny said. You can't talk about it because she's black, and we can do what we got to do. But, Denise, you know how politics work. You've been in city council. They put that bill together for the sole purpose of purposely and intentionally giving you nothing. Some people ain't getting nothing. Everybody thought they was going to get some of Krasner's money, too. You see what they got, didn't you?
Okay, well, let's see how this all works out. And thank you, George, for calling in and sharing your insights with us.
I really appreciate you. That's why I called. You know, at least I'm talking to somebody who understands what I'm saying, because they sitting there looking at the deals we made, and all you do is pull your head, Denise, and shake your head and take your glasses off and say, I don't believe this. The public is really going for this. But after 4 or 5 years of hearing it, you finally say, well, what do you expect? People come to you and say, do you believe that they just done that? You say, yes, you know, but it's called political abuse. The more that the elected official abuse their constituents, the more they come out and vote for them. You ever notice that? The less they give them, no service, no nothing, they vote for them. Overwhelmingly numbers. The people who work hard and do right by them, those are the people get low numbers and they try to get rid of. Look at all them idiots they got in council now, all them new people.
Okay,
just look at them.
George.
Have a good one.
Thanks. We have Maurice from Southwest, line 2. We were looking for you earlier, Maurice.
There was no way to call in because this topic is so hot. This should be an all-day topic because it's so hot. Because the number one problem with the city right now is murder. So you can't go into basket weaving or whatever else the next subject is, because I'm just being extreme with that, because people want to talk about what bothers them. And out here in Southwest, I started my own programs out here, got people that has cut down the violence at least 25%. First of all, we don't call it a gun violence. It's a people violence. It's 90% of the people being killed or more are black. It's a black-on-black problem, but nobody likes to say that because they want to give these ridiculous examples. Why there's no white-on-white? If white people were killing people like we are, we'd be calling it a white problem. So let's get that straight. Second of all, you cannot threaten the mayor. The mayor is not running again, and he doesn't like to be bullied. So you go outside threat, he turns you off totally. Those people won't get a dime, even though they had great ideas and they're great people. But the strategy is wrong. You got to meet with this man in private somewhere and talk like you got to. Sometimes you got to work with your enemies, and sometimes you just got to come to agreement on a subject. But all that threatening is not going to work. And here's the part of it. What people taking care of their neighborhoods, trying to get that money, trying to keep it clean. You know, maybe you have 4 or 5 different neighborhoods that you go out to and put that money to where the worst crime is. You could be doing that. But no, these people think when they're having these rallies, the mayor is tone deaf to this nonsense because the gentleman said it earlier. This is a gentrified city. They want us out, and we keep pretending like they don't want us out. Young people can't afford homes. There's no such thing in Philadelphia as affordable housing. And when are we going to answer those questions? And before COVID, people don't understand. We only had 2% black business owners in this city. What do you think it is now with COVID? 0. You go down 52nd Street. If you can find a black-owned store from an Afro-American, you done found gold. 52nd Street is not black anymore. 60th Street was coming back, but you see what they did to that. When have you ever heard of 4 gunmen going to a guy's store and shooting it up? That's to keep them people from growing something so we can get back to the gentrification project that's going on. And if you want to talk about the city being clean, like we got some hosts come on here with the ridiculousness, if the city was clean, there'd be no murders. There are no trash receptacles in Southwest Philly or West Philly. So when are we going to get together and, like the brother said, only black people can save black people. So I say get the block committees back together. The mayor have a meeting with the block, with the neighborhoods. You know who the zip codes are where the most murders are. Where is the task force to hit that? Because right now, what George said earlier, our police commissioner, I'm not saying she's not a good woman because I believe she is, but she's just used as a pawn. She was not elected. The mayor decided that she was going to work for him.
Well, no police commissioner has ever been elected, Maurice.
I know, but we acting like we elected her when we talk about we're going to wrap our arms around her and all this nonsense. She doesn't work for us. She works for the mayor. Let's get that straight. We live under these illusions like if we get rid of all the guns, the murder's going to stop. They don't have guns, they have knives. They don't have knives, they got sharp sticks. It's a problem why another black man is looking at another black person and says, you know what? I'm going to kill them. That is the problem. You can't blame something that can't defend itself, which is a gun. You're not going to get rid of guns because up in Harrisburg, Republicans own all the bills on that. You know, when you go out of Philadelphia, it's open carry. People don't even realize that. As soon as you step out of Philadelphia, I can put a gun on my hip and go to the grocery store. We don't know these things. And the people who are down there rallying outside City Hall, none of them have ever been to a gun shop. We got a big gun show coming up this weekend up in Oaks. You know how hard it's going to be to even get in there? They got a parking lot 3 football fields long, and it's crowded by the time of opening. People standing in line with their children and baby coaches. You know they sell guns for kids there.
Okay.
7, 8.
All right, Maurice, thank you. But we got to get to our guest. But thank you for calling in.
Thank you for taking my call.
No problem. And there's a lot that both George and Maurice have said that, we can unpack at another time. But I wanted to bring on our next guest, Jamal Johnson, to talk about what he's doing to try to bring awareness of such things as the accessibility, the guns and gun violence problem, because he's walking literally from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C., to bring awareness to the issue. And I wanted to bring him on to talk a little bit about what he's doing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, tell me a little bit about the idea of walking from Philadelphia to D.C. and what you're hoping to do along the way.
Well, the Stop Killing Us March, this is the 5th year, and it began actually as a result of the police brutality that was going on in 2017 when David Jones was shot in the back and killed by police officer Pownell. As a result of that and other brutalities that were going on in the country, I thought I wanted to do something. So instead of trying to deal with it on a local level, I thought I would go to the national level and talk to the Congressional Black Caucus and people on that level so we could get some safety in our communities. over the years, it's morphed into the gun violence issue for obvious reasons. You know, the death rate in our city and across the nation is just unheard of. And I just want to address that also. So this march is to address both things. But as far as police brutality, we want to see why we can't get more urgency on the passage of the George Floyd bill. As far as gun violence, I personally have a desire that Mayor Kenny do more than he has done. I'm not saying that he is the answer. What I'm saying is that we have a role, he has a role. For people who keep saying he's leaving, I don't care if he's leaving. He's getting paid by my tax dollars. I want him to do his job. So if I have to go to Washington and ask the other black people in Washington, their representatives, to talk to him, to get him to do more, to open his coffers, to do whatever it takes to help to save our children, that's what I'm attempting to do.
So how long are you walking each day?
Well, there's no set amount of time because it depends on who participates in the march on that day. Today we left at 10 o'clock. There were originally 4 of us. We ended up with 2. In fact, we're just ending right now. And myself and another young lady. So it depends on who comes and how fast or how slow they go.
Okay. So how long do you think it'll take for you to get to D.C.?
Well, we already have a predetermined date of August 28th, at which time we will have a press conference. But on August 27th, I will be visiting the Congressional Black Caucus.
Okay, now, Janice Armstrong from the Daily News wrote a column yesterday that asked the question that's kind of been, rolling around in my head, and that is, where is the outrage? You would think that we have seen the outrage in terms of the police brutality issue, and it needs to be there. But we haven't necessarily seen it in terms of the gun violence issue. Is that part of what motivates you to walk, the fact that there is an outrage that we're not talking about?
That is one of the main things that motivates me, because one thing I'm realizing is that as long as we continue to give reasons why we should not rally, protest, and complain out loud about how our children are being shot down in the streets, then it's not going to happen. One thing I know about Mayor Kenny, and the gentleman said earlier that the mayor is tone deaf. I find that not to be true. I've dealt with Mayor Kenny personally. I've talked to him civilly, and I know that he hears me, and I know that he understands what I want. And he's attempted to do something to satisfy my desire, but not enough. But the thing is, if we continue to be complacent and quiet, we're not going to get anything. So just imagine we're getting something now because we're making noise. Imagine what we would get if we did nothing. But we need more outcry from the community. And my goal as I travel down the highway is to connect with other communities. Like I said, this is my 5th year. Every year I go, I connect with communities. I get involved in their rallies and their protests, because this is a collective issue across this country. But in the city, we have got to realize we've got to come together and we've got to make noise. Being quiet is not going to solve this problem. And the thing is, the people who want to solve it, they need resources. Well, guess how those resources come? They come from requests. They don't come from nice requests all the time. Sometimes you have to think outside the box. And I truly believe that efforts I've made, efforts a lot of other people have made in Philadelphia that may have seemed a little unorthodox, have gotten some response from the mayor.
Okay. We have to take a break, but if you could hang on with us, just a few more minutes. After the break, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about this. But before we go to break, we invite you to stand with WURD, the only Black-owned talk radio station in Pennsylvania. Now, did you know that you can join the forward movement and amplify voices in the Black community like Mr. Johnson's as a digital member for as low as $5 a month? Visit wordradio.com or call 215-425-7875 in order to become a member. And we need your support, so please show it to us by joining or renewing your Forward membership today. We'll be back with more of The Source in a moment.
Hope Partnership Middle School offers a quality, subsidized independent school education to students and families in North Philadelphia. Located at 2601 North 11th Street, Hope offers small class sizes, personalized learning, a research-based curriculum, dedicated teachers, and a graduate support program, which supports students through high school graduation. They are currently accepting applications for 5th to 7th grade students for September. For more information, please contact them at info@hope-partnership.org.
What grows in the forest? Trees? Sure. Know what else grows in the forest? Our imagination, our sense of wonder, and our family bonds grow too. Because when we disconnect from this and connect with this, we reconnect with each other and build family memories we will carry with us forever. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. It's easy. Just put in your zip code to find family-friendly outdoor destinations near you. You'll also find guides to free activities, games, and amazing forest facts. Give the magic of the outdoors to your kids and reconnect with your family. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Source
on WURD Radio,
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
And we're back with more of The Source on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. I'm Denise Clay Murray, filling in for Andrea Lawful Sanders. And we're talking with Jamal Johnson, who is taking his protest of not only gun violence, but also police brutality to the streets, literally, by walking from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C. You said this was your 5th year doing this?
Yes, ma'am.
What made you decide to do it the first time? Did you feel that, you really needed to, get the issue out there in a way that people couldn't miss it?
That's primarily the reason, and plus because I believe that, just as you're speaking to me now, I think that when we do the normal things, we get the normal responses. And I think that the George Floyd incident showed us that we had to go outside of the normal tradition to get the kind of response that we finally did get. But the thing is, as usual, we continue to subside even before we completed our goal. So my goal is to get into the ear of the people in D.C. just like I got into the ear of the mayor. If that's what it takes, that's what I'm willing to do.
So you want to speak with the Congressional Black Caucus specifically? Are you going to meet with them as a group, individually? How do you intend to do that?
Well, what happens is I go to the chairman, and at this point it's the chairwoman. I go to her office, and normally they have staff there because obviously right now she's on vacation. She's back in California. But I'll speak to her staff member that she has left, and we speak. I leave them what I want to present to them to give to her, and it goes from there. I've also have indicated to Congressman Evans that I was going to visit his office, and he's assured me that someone would probably be there when I arrive too. The only thing we're trying to do is connect to the people that need to connect back to us so they can help us. And I don't think we're getting that done well enough because we're all out here still crying about this escalating crime and homicide rate.
Okay. We have some callers on the line. We have Tyrone from North Philly on line 1. Tyrone, welcome to The Source.
Yes, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm good.
I'm sorry I had to walk out excuse me.
Okay.
First of all, peace and blessings and much love and respect to my WURD family. I wanted to call up Ms. Denise because, I hear the discussion as it relates to the police in our community.
Excuse me, Tyrone, are you on speakerphone?
I am, because I thought that would be better.
Actually,
because I'm outside, so that's why. Can you hear me now?
you kind of have some additional noise going on in the background, which I guess is being picked up by your speakerphone.
I was outside, but I came back in the hallway. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you better now, yes.
Okay. Yes. The reason I was calling because yesterday we had a program where we had the police department to speak with our young people. We are doing this with 3 of the recreation centers in North Philadelphia. When I say we, this is the 22nd PDAP, and that's the Police District Action Council, Advisory Council. And we have worked in conjunction with the Athletic Recreation Center at 26th and Master, the C.C.B. Moore Recreation Center at 22nd and Huntington, and the Amos Recreation Center at 16th and Berks. And the idea is that we wanted the police department to engage in interaction and conversation with our young people. And let me just say this. Our first one yesterday at the Athletic Center at 26th and Master was phenomenal. Our young people are really, really on the ball. And very quickly, we say 2 great things that came out of the conversation. One was the young folks said that we need to do this more often. That is to have these type of interactions with the police, speaking with young people. And secondly, the young folks said they need to do this with the adults. So I'm calling because I keep hearing folks that is saying that the police is this and the police is that, our young folks is this, our young folks is that. And I know for a fact that when we had crime in our community, the killings in our community, we're looking for the police to be more active in trying to deal with this situation and to resolve this issue. But our young folks are saying that we don't need to look at them to resolve it. We need to have more interaction with them. And so I got to give a hand out because, as I always say, our young folks are brilliant. Our young folks are creative. And if we give them the opportunity to be more involved with the process and the procedures that are happening, I believe that we will have a better opportunity to deal with the issues we are confronted with every day. And close with this, our intergenerational concept must become more prevalent in everything that we do. We've got to have that elders, adults, and youth combination to deal with all these things we are confronted with. So that's my sharing today, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share. And if you don't mind me, again, just mentioning tomorrow we're going to be at the C.C.B. Moore Recreation Center at 22nd and Huntington. If you would like to be a part of the conversation of our police department speaking with our young people, you're welcome. If you're going to be a part, not coming with your own agenda, if you want to be a part of what we have set up in terms of giving them an opportunity to engage and interface and talk with one another, that's what we're doing. And we're doing the same thing on Friday at the Amos Recreation Center at 16th and Birch, and that's from 3 to 5. 3 to 5 Friday, 12 to 3 Wednesday. You're welcome.
All right,
to
thank
join
you,
us.
Tyrone. We really appreciate that.
Okay.
Next on line 2, we have Prince from Schuylkill. Prince, welcome to the Source.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good.
Good, thank you. One of the things that is of some interest is that while we keep having these events that offer no opportunity for economics to our young people, like the basketball camps and whatever the young man just said, it's devastating to our community that you want to keep these guys isolated inside of a place, either playing video games or listening to people that have no economic value, opposed to teaching them how to work a landscape, a zero turn, or even a weed whacker. And I'm so disappointed with the city councilman who wants to take credit for having a basketball camp, teaching them basketball, while the same people, the age group of the kids he teaching basketball, have the ability to cut grass and make money. And when are we going to get into developing the economics in our own people, opposed to this silly socialism stuff that keeps them? When you walk in Asian stores now, you see kids behind the counter, although they shouldn't be serving in that store, they're still behind the counter working in that store, their mom and their pop store. And these folks like that are just killing us, using these recreational centers for babysitting purposes, not economic purposes. And that might be a little harsh, but I'm really tired of these so-called elders that we call elders that are economically challenged in this city right here. Don't have what my mom would say, a pot to piss in or window to throw it out of. And they call every day thinking that they should have some kind of residual credit for something. The problems that we having now shouldn't be having now. They should have fixed this in the 60s, 70s, or the 80s. But the fact that we are still having the same problems, you sending us the GED programs and CNA classes to get certified, while folks, we aren't competing against anybody around us. They're running roughshod over us. And so now I can see there's such a great distance between somebody 65 and somebody 22. And so that's almost irreparable. You know what I mean? So the question is, how do we move forward? Because these young kids have made more money than their grandfathers could have ever made or grandmoms could have ever made. They're not on any socialism, social programs. They're not collecting welfare. They're not waiting to get their a handicap card and stuff like that. My question to you is, Denise, is when are the people going to accept that there are some things now that we're not going to accept, and stop trying to integrate us into something that we want no part of? So why would you want us to? I'm sorry. Let me let you answer that.
Well, I don't really know what you're referring to.
I'm referring to when folks when folks keep saying that they speak for our generation, or they speak for all black kids, or they speak for the majority. They think that they got the event to help us as a group, when the very people, whether it's the pastors or people who have social programs, Men United, or all those programs that have shown to have failed us over the years. You come up with these programs, these socialism programs that are ran by nonprofits that are only top heavy and not result oriented. You don't understand? None of them programs that's going on right now. You have 300. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll listen.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, you're asking me why, these programs exist for a reason, and I know people within them who are doing really good work that are teaching our kids about things like how to be computer programmers, how to build computers, how to do different things in the STEM field. So they're not totally useless. But the thing is, it
makes it difficult. It makes it difficult because you realize the STEM program has been out 40 years now. Okay, those kids who know the STEM program now, who there are kids who know those STEM programs. There's a program called Kumon that my son was in since age 4. You know what I mean? There is different programs that are out here that people who have an income past over $70,000 have been putting their kids in and developing and investing in their kids. And yet all we hear about are these poor programs, and they're ran by folks with alternative lifestyles, whose lifestyle is so jacked up that when they come to your community, they only want to come to your community because it's the poorest community due to demographics and all of the algorithms that say that this is the poorest community. Go and create your RCO in that community or your CDC in that community, and they're going to accept your lifestyle, and you can teach them whatever you want to teach them, because every nonprofit is about to employ.
Excuse me, but when you say alternative lifestyle, what do you mean?
Excuse me?
When you say alternative lifestyle, what do you mean?
Alternative from the lifestyle. If you were Christian or if you were Muslim and you're raised that way, then they come in and say, well, that's just your dad or your grandma's thinking. You can live any way you want to live. And that's pathetically awful, because people who have money and influence, they develop their kids a certain way based on their money and influence. But people who are single parents, mom who got to work 2 jobs and have a couple children, and usually inside of a public housing situation, you have folks come in after they do the data, and it's acceptable. The alternative lifestyle is acceptable. The fact that they accept them based on who they are, when the message is lost based on who they are. Because this visual is what we look at first, then we are going to accept you or not accept you. But we're forcing our kids to do things and be a part of systems only because of the population of our kids is how they get their money. And that's how come we haven't had the results that we're looking for in the black community. Violence is the end game. But there's a whole lot before that we haven't done anything to groom them, to develop them, to prepare them, and now you're seeing the results.
Okay.
And that's ridiculous, because we're suffering with that. When they ride them bikes up and down the streets like that, unimpeded, hundreds of them, how do you stop that?
Well,
how do you stop it? Right, you don't have an answer for that, and a lot of politicians don't have an answer for that.
I'm a journalist, I'm not a cop.
I know, but see, here's the problem I have, is that folks, I don't know how old you are, but I'm going to say this, folks your age say, I'm a journalist, I'm not a cop. Calling the cops wouldn't stop the problem. It would enhance that problem. If you took some of the CARES Act money and invested it and put those asphalt bumpers, not the rubber bumpers on the ground, the asphalt bumper, and you have an 1.5 inches up, it automatically stops a motorcycle from a wheelie. So you put those on your major thoroughways that you already have a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. So spend some of the CARES Act money in the right way to eliminate a problem, because you're not going to have that problem in the wintertime, because they don't ride on bikes in the wintertime, opposed to calling the cops and the cops chasing them down, hitting them with the door of the car, or shooting them. But then I'm going to get off the phone and listen to somebody else.
Right.
Thank you, Denise, for taking my call.
Thank you. Okay. So, Mr. Johnson, if folks wanted to participate in the walk with you or help you in some other way in getting, from Philly to DC to meet with the Congressional Black Caucus, how could people do that?
Well, every day on my Facebook page, I put where we've ended, because that's where we're going to start the next morning. We normally leave out about 10 o'clock. Anyone is welcome to join us at that time or any time along the way for the next 3 weeks.
Okay. And if someone wanted to donate money to help you, like pay for new sneakers or, to have lunch or something, is there a way that they could do that?
Yes, I have a Cash App that's $, N as in Nancy, E as in Edward, B as in Victor, R as in Robert, G as in Golf, O as in Oscar, B as in Boy, A as in Alpha, C as in Charlie, and K as in Kilo. Never go back with one E. And, I do accept those donations because they help us along the road, and they also may help somebody who doesn't have the funds that would like to participate.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And could you, kind of make sure that you keep us posted as your walk progresses. And I'd love to, sit down and talk to you at some point about what you heard from the CBC, or what you've heard along the way from people as you've taken your walk. In fact, do people talk to you as you take your walk, like people that aren't necessarily participating with you? And what have you heard from the community that way?
Well, normally over the last 4 years, people have actually pulled off the side of the road. We've had conversations. As I said, when I go into the different cities, sometimes we have activities, rallies, protests, whatever, community events, all centered around those two topics. So my other goal is to try to get some solutions from some of these communities also that I can bring back to maybe suggest that we can apply here in Philadelphia to solve our problem.
Okay, well, thank you so much. That's Jamal Johnson, who is walking from Philadelphia to D.C. to fight the twin ills of police brutality and gun violence here in the city. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And we'll be back with more of The Source in a minute. I'm Denise Clay Murray. You're on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
As a father, I've done everything I can to protect my children. For my family, getting the COVID vaccine is about protecting the whole family now and in the future. That's why I'm making sure my children get the COVID vaccine and protect their health. For me, it's one less health risk to worry about. You have the power to finish this.
Visit pa.gov/COVID for more information. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Hey there, beautiful. Have you had severe hair loss? Do you have a scalp disorder? Is your hair thinning around the edges and crown? If you answered yes to any of these questions, give us a call at 215-225-2442 to schedule a consultation with Babes Holistic Hair Salon located at 3117 North Broad Street. Babes Holistic Hair Salon is dedicated to improving your inner and outer beauty. This ad is brought to you by the North Broad Renaissance and Truist Foundation.
The Black Words Book Club. Word Radio's conversation on books that explore the African American experience through social, economic, and environmental justice issues. Tune in the second Tuesday of every month on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. The Black Words book for September is Race Against Time, The Politics of a Darkening America by Keith Boykin. Be sure to listen live as Nick Taliaferro will hold a contest for a giveaway book bundle that consists of 4 titles from Kensington's Defina's Authors of Color's newest release. Don't miss it, Tuesday, September 14th on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Attention 4Word members. Get your copy and receive a 20% discount when you purchase at Harriet's Bookstore or Hakeem's Bookstore. For more information on the Black Words Book Club, visit wordradio.com. The Black Words Book Club is sponsored by Defina. Defina is an imprint of Kensington Publishing Corporation, America's independent publisher, concentrating on authors of color.
You're listening to The Source
on WURD Radio,
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
And we're back with more of The Source. I'm Denise Clay Murray, and you're listening to WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. And we have a call on line 1. It's Ken from West Philly. Hi, Ken. Welcome to The Source.
Greetings, comrades, sisters, and brothers. How you doing, sister?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, gotten vaccinated some time ago. We're going to go in, both of us, and see if we got a COVID test that we can take. You know, if you have been vaccinated, you can also get the COVID right now. And we're going to sit over at CVS. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, it can happen. You know, so we're going to go and get that test over at CVS. It's supposed to be free. And I would advise everybody, get a COVID test if you don't get the vaccination. For us older people who have some sense out here, for socialists and communists, which I am all of that, you know, we need to start looking at how we don't down people who were socialists and communists. I was looking at this radio show over on the internet, and prompted me to call in after that young man was calling in about we don't need no socialism here. Well, you know, Denise, it's just amazing. I walk all over West Philadelphia. There are I can go up and down Market Street right now. Asian restaurants almost don't exist anymore. That's fact. You can't find restaurants almost existing anywhere on 52nd Street. I got to find this soul food restaurant. They told me it was up in the, I think, 4800 block of 52nd Street. You go to North Philly, same thing. You go out to Kensington and Fishtown. That's where white folk live at, everybody. And the problem is out there is that they're getting hit just like we got hit. You walk up and down Frankfurt Avenue. When I was in high school, I went to high school at Massbaum. I did. Flourishing. But now, Denise, you walk up and down there, it looks like somebody bombed it out. I'm not kidding. No businesses at all started off at Girard Avenue going north. It's weird. Places I used to go to out there, they don't exist anymore. Simple as that. So we got to get off our high horses, everybody. Capitalism is hurting all of us. Not only us, it's hurting us badly. So we really need to start talking about what we need to do, not just telling people you can't have alternate lifestyles and stuff like that. You know, hey, this ain't what it's about. What it's about is we got to get these people off our backs. If we don't, and the young man who called up previously, please change your mind. I've been having a conversation with a brother. I ain't going to be long on this. He's a race first brother. He listens to this station. That's cute. That's nice. That's all that. But that ain't getting us out of what we needed to be. Because you want to bet on something? Race first was a capitalist term that got started back in the 1920s. I can back into it. I can show you where it came from. And it came from guys like Henry Ford, believe it or not. It didn't come from us. It came from other folk. You know, so we got to drop the term, give it some balance here, and start dealing with what we need to deal with. And that is, you know, you just can't down everybody just because the economy has gone broke, and it has. The United States is absolutely broke right now. And I saw a video of the guy who has the United States Bank. He's standing there talking to a guy in CBS, and he's telling him, well, we don't print money anymore. We just change the figures in the computers for the major industries of the rich. He said that. So I think we got to get off of this little background about socialism isn't good for us. The capitalists are bleeding us. Trump was one of them. Okay, I'm over 3 minutes. How you been, lady?
I'm good. Oh, good. And thank you so much for calling in to The Source. We really appreciate it.
Over and out, folks. On
Okay.
with socialism. Hey, you remember that now. Over and out.
I'll remember that. And if you would like to join our conversation, the call-in numbers are 215-634-8065, or from anywhere in the known world, 866-361-0900. We'd love to hear from you, because I've heard some answers to this question, but I kind of like to know from our callers, where is the outrage? Why aren't people angrier that gun violence has become what it is in the city of Philadelphia? Why aren't people, you know, taking to the streets and not only demanding things from our elected officials, but also demanding things from each other? Because let's face it, the bottom line is this stuff is happening in our neighborhoods. It's happening in our communities, and if we're responsible for nothing else, we're responsible for how we conduct ourselves in our homes and with our families and with our children and our friends and everybody else. There's something that we can do on a macro level to make this problem become less of a problem. And I think that on some level, the people who have basically taken other people in the neighborhoods where this is going on most often hostage, for all intents and purposes, they're kind of counting on everybody being so burned out and worn out and tired that the outrage isn't going to happen. And, you know, maybe it's time that we show them as a collective and as a community that, yes, we are outraged. We're mad. We're tired of this. We're tired of burying, 1-year-olds. We're tired of having to visit, young people in the hospital because they've been shot. We're tired of being afraid to send our kids to the corner store and have them, buy milk or bread and have them and be afraid that they're not coming back. We're tired of that. And we're going to call you on it. And we demand that you stop acting a fool in our neighborhoods. Because let's face it, that's the bottom line here. And maybe it's time that there is some outrage, that we do put our foot down as a community, that we all stand together and say, we've had about enough of this. But what will that take? Why hasn't it happened already? And are you outraged? And if you are outraged, what do we do about that? How do we harness that outrage into solving this problem? Please give us a call. The lines are open. And let me check on our Facebook page, because sometimes we get some really good responses on Facebook. And in the course of doing the show, I don't always get the chance to check. So I'm checking that now to see if we have any good responses to this, because we've had, a lot of people that, there's still some people that are talking to us from yesterday about whether or not you should have to get the vaccine in order to participate in various activities. And the Pentagon just announced that if you're going to work at the Pentagon, you have to be vaccinated. And the city of Philadelphia just announced that, particularly for city council, that if you're going to work in a council person's office, that you have to be vaccinated. Now, I know people who work in council offices and who are not vaccinated, and it's going to be really interesting to see, how they deal with this, because, if you've been working at a place for 20 years and now you're being told that you have to have a vaccination to continue working there, that's going to, what do you do? Do you leave your job? Do you get the vaccine? Do you submit to, constant testing? Do you say, okay, I have a religious exception and you have to be able to prove it? Or a medical exception, again, you have to be able to prove it. What do you do in this case? Or do you just decide, okay, I'm going to get the vaccine because A, I want to get my job. I want to keep my job. And B, I want, I don't necessarily want to keep having to have the why aren't you vaccinated discussion. So give us a call. Let us know what you think. And in the next hour, I'm going to have Jamila Bay, who was on yesterday's show, talking about Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York, and his, legal problems that have stemmed from sexual harassment allegations. A few hours ago, in fact, shortly before we went on the air at 1 o'clock, he resigned. And having interacted with Governor Cuomo a few times in my career as a journalist, both before he became governor and afterward, I'm actually pretty shocked that he resigned, because one thing that stood out to me about Andrew Cuomo was he's possibly one of the most stubborn people I have ever met covering politics. So I was really kind of shocked that he decided to step down. But I guess he was looking at impeachment. And when you're looking at impeachment, unlike on the federal level where you where you can be someone like a Donald Trump and commit various violations of the emoluments clause by making millions of dollars when you're president of the United States, on the state level, on state levels, when you do something that's an impeachable offense, you get impeached. And We'll be talking about that with Jamila Bay in the 3 o'clock hour, which is in a few minutes. But right now we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more of The Source. I'm Denise Clay Murray, and you're listening to WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
They're back.
Everyone's ready.
Platinum Shows presents the Dell Music Center Summer Series. Sunday, August 1st, it's Jeffrey Osborne. On the wings of love. Peebo Bryson. I'm so into you. And Regina Bell. Then Sunday, August 15th, it's the Basement Party with Big Daddy Kane. Baby Cool Mo D. EPMD, Nice and Smooth, the Sugar Hill Gang with a Furious Five featuring Grandmaster Melly Mel and Scorpio, Roxanne Shante, and Tough Crew. Then Sunday, September 5th, Labor Day weekend, it's the Party in the Park with the Whispers. Stephanie Mills. And After 7. Tickets available at the Dell box office and Ticketmaster.com. For more information, log on to ppshows.com.
Philadelphia residents can stay cool this summer with Parks and Rec. Between public pools and spray grounds, there are over 150 free places to cool down and have fun this summer. Spray grounds are open from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily. Pool hours vary by location. Visit phila.gov/PPR to find a pool or spray ground near you.
Join WURD for the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour. This year, we celebrate West Oak Lane, Mantua, North, West, and South Philly. I'm Tiffany Bacon. I'll broadcast live from a different neighborhood each Friday from 10 a.m. until 12 noon. Our next stop is North Philly at the Martin Luther King Recreation Center, 2101 Cecil B. Moore Avenue on Friday, August 13th. Pick up voter registration information, meet special guests, and stand with WURD and be a part of the movement to amplify the voice of the Black community. Show your support and join or renew your 4WURD membership on site. That's the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour at the Martin Luther King Recreation Center from 10 a.m. until 12 noon, Friday, August 13th. WURD, showing love this summer.
The WURD Radio Neighborhood Love Tour is sponsored by Comcast and supported by PICO, Keystone First, Ready Set Philly, and Hope Partnership for Education. As a community service, WURD Radio and the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium wants to keep you informed about where you can get barrier-free COVID-19 testing and vaccination this week. Deliverance Evangelistic Church, 2001 West Lehigh Avenue, Tuesday, August 10th and Thursday, August 12th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday, August 14th from 12 noon till 4 p.m. Stay informed and stay well with WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Be there this Friday at the Summer Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour and stand with WURD Radio to amplify voices of the Black community as a digital 4WURD member for as low as $5 per month. And receive a free gift for signing up. See you on Friday and join Tiffany Bacon, 10 a.m. till noon at the Martin Luther King Recreation Center, 2101 Cecil B. Moore Avenue. Or visit wordradio.com. Start or renew your 4WURD membership today. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Streaming live on wordradio.com, the WURD Radio app, or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. WURD Radio, independent Black media.
You're listening to The Source
on WURD Radio,
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
And we're back with the final hour of The Source on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. I'm Denise Clay Murray, filling in for Andrea Lawful Sanders, and it's 3 o'clock. And I guess it's 3 o'clock. Do you know where your governor is? Well, in Pennsylvania, we know where our governor is, but in New York, there's about to be a changing of the guard because Andrew Cuomo has become the latest person to find out that when you are accused of sexual harassment and you've been doing it for a while, that the days of getting away with that are over. He resigned today, shortly before we went on air at around 12:45, 1 o'clock. And I wanted to bring back Jamila Bay, an independent journalist and radio talk show host based in DC, who spoke with us yesterday about this to kind of find out what happens next. There's some history being made, although the person that's making the history probably didn't want to do it that way. But, it happens. But hi, Jamila. Welcome back to The Source.
Well, it is a delight to be here. We just keep meeting this way.
I see. So I don't know about you, but when I saw that Andrew Cuomo had resigned around 1 o'clock this afternoon, I was shocked.
Didn't see it coming. He said he was going to stay till the bitter end, and I guess that pressure got to him. But in fairness, he is going to stick it out another 2 weeks. It's I'm going to resign in 2 weeks. So he's not gone now.
Okay. But what do you think made him come to that decision? Because there seemed to be a bit of a defiance on his part. He was saying, unless there are criminal charges filed against me, I'm not going in here. So what made him decide to jump before he was pushed?
Well, I have to imagine that the knowledge that his chum, Attorney General Letitia James, New York State Attorney General, of course, was the one who oversaw that inquiry, and she's the one who said, "Oh yeah, he did it. Not only did he did it, but I believe he did it, and there are at least 11 women that he did that too." He had no allies in high places. He was facing an impeachment, an impeachment review. In addition, every bit of media around the man is screaming, "Resign, resign, resign." You and I know yesterday, the conversation we had, we're not the only journalist who pointed out and dragged his baby brother into it too. So he really had nowhere to run, nowhere to turn to, quote Motown. But, in all seriousness, I have to point out, Donald Trump was accused by more than 25 women and girls, and managed to run, win, and subject everyone to a 4-year term. I don't believe that it would have been completely untenable, but if Governor Cuomo is to be believed that he loves the state of New York and wants the state to get back to governing and not looking at him, he had to go. Perhaps the love of state beyond the love of self-preservation won out the day. I'm not finding happy platitudes here. I'm just looking for whatever there seems to be.
Okay, but there also seems to be, while he is resigning, he's not out of the woods yet, is he?
Oh, there can still be charges brought. And let's be clear here. He still can be subject to civil penalties, fines, suits, whatnot. This is by no means over. The investigation that Attorney General James oversaw merely looked into the credence of the allegations of sexual harassment, unwanted touching, and such. That probe sought to find if there was credibility to those allegations. That probe said, "Oh yeah," and there's a lot of it. And there's circumstantial evidence, there's corroborating evidence, there's blatant evidence, and then the governor himself admitted, he went to law school. Why would he say this? But he said, "I touch everybody," which is not something that you would think an attorney being accused of unwanted touching would say. But I admit I did not go to law school. I've only watched a lot of legal TV. I don't know why he would say such a thing, but he did say this. I touch a lot of people. It's my way of saying I see you. I would counter, well, Governor, don't you have two eyes? But that's what he said. He admitted. So we've got an admission on top of all of the, other evidence against this governor, soon to be former, I guess he'll be, the soon to be former governor, disgraced governor, ex-governor. It's not looking so rosy for Mr. Cuomo at this point. He's got a lot to answer to.
But I think my favorite part, and I hate to use the word favorite part in this particular instance, of the press conference that he gave after the report was announced, featured a video of him kissing and hugging various people and attributing it to his heritage as an Italian. Now, I lived in South Philadelphia for like 10, 15 years. So yeah, I know that happens, but there's a difference between, getting a hug from Nona before you sit down to dinner of pasta and gravy, and getting a hug from a guy who basically is saying, if you don't let me hug you, I'm going to fire you.
Indeed. Again, O.J. Simpson once penned a book called If I Did It. And a lot of folks said, O.J., why would you say, if I did it, this is how I would have done it and how I would have gotten away with it? It smacks of, the lady doth protest too much. Mm-hmm. Why would you seem guilty when you do that. So the highlight reel of Governor Cuomo kissing, touching, there was a Journey song. What was it? Loving, touching, squeezing. I mean, mm-hmm. I'm surprised that tune wasn't playing as the soundtrack to that video. It was blatantly bad. Forgive me. I work in words for a living, and all I can come up with is bad. That was bad.
Now, he's going to be replaced by a woman, Lieutenant Governor. I speak for a living. I don't always do it well, though. Kathy Hochul. I hope I pronounced that correctly. She's going to be the first female governor of New York now that he has left office. And I guess what happened, just how big a mess is she walking into?
I have to be optimistic for her. The lieutenant governor has a wonderful reputation. She's known for being fair, and we know that, to be blunt, we know that a woman who ascends to such position has got to be somewhat competent. I'm not looking at Alaska, I'm looking at New York. And she has a great reputation. She is widely regarded as someone who gets along well with Republicans and Democrats in the state. And she's walking into, frankly, the same mess that all of our governors in the U.S. are facing right now. Cuomo, she gets to ride a little bit of the coattails of he was doing well with the initial COVID, the COVID crisis initially. As we see this Delta variant spiking in New York State, that's an issue she's going to have to deal with. We recognize that New Yorkers, I'm thinking right now of our friends in performing and the arts and whatnot who have been crying out for relief. She has the opportunity to get New Yorkers going back to work. It was going to happen anyway, let's be honest, but whatever she decides to do, in particular targeting various groups, that's going to be in her column because it happened after Cuomo. It will happen after Cuomo himself has been gone. It stands to reason. Today, the Senate passed the $1 trillion infrastructure bill. We don't know what's going to happen in the Congress, but it stands to reason that New York, once something actually is passed, because we know that something has to pass, despite the partisan foolishness, we'll call it, in the House. Something's going to pass. New York is going to benefit. And the way the governor implements using federal money in order to improve infrastructure will absolutely put people to work, which will absolutely be a win in that governor's column. She gets to come in with this backdrop. So it could be worse. It could be worse. It could be better. But she does have a few things that really will be wind at her back.
Okay. Since you brought up things that she might be able to use to help herself, part of the reason why everybody in the Democratic Party was screaming at Andrew Cuomo to resign is because they were looking at 2022.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, here in Pennsylvania, we have an open Senate seat. Pat Toomey is going to be leaving us, much to the despair of the Tuesdays with Toomey people who were basically, protesting at his office every Tuesday, and now may actually have to find something else to occupy their time because they might have a senator that actually will take a meeting with them. And you also have various races, including New York governor, you have Senate, you have House, and you had Democrats who were saying, could you please resign because we don't want you to be used as an issue when we're out campaigning, because Republicans, despite the fact that Donald Trump, basically wanted to they wanted to treat women's private parts like a bowling ball. He did manage to win a term as president because let's just be honest, shame and irony are, no longer existent in the Republican Party.
Hello.
What does this take an issue away, or are people like, say, John Fetterman and Connor Lamb and Malcolm Kenyatta here in Pennsylvania, are they still going to have to talk about that when they campaign?
I am going to very, very badly punt this one because, as we know, anything can happen, anything will happen. As we know, when you shine the light, all the little critters can tend to scamper. And in this particular case, as we've seen in other high-profile cases of women coming forward, and again, you have to do the self-serving, not all men, not all women. But in this case, women come forward and say, hey, this man also, me too, me too. We don't know what else is going to come to light by the time it rolls around to elect congressional representatives in 2022. And if anything, we should know to not presume. I say that to say, I believe this actually would, if I'm hedging my bets, I think this actually would remove an issue. Being able to say, look, we Democrats, we are human. We have problems like anyone else. We have folks amongst us who do wrong like everyone else. We hold ours to account, and that's what we did here. And this is this is a classic example of, frankly, crisis communications, probably not 101, but maybe, 202. You double down on, we got him out, he did wrong. And if you can draw attention to the correction of a wrong that has happened, it tends to take the spotlight off of anything in the background. As every good magician and Aquila will tell you, prestidigitation is a thing. Look at him, he was wrong, we did right with him. Look at him, he was wrong, we did right with him. There are things in the background that people don't see when you're screaming, look at him, look at him. And that is an opportunity that frankly can be exploited by those who would seek similar office. Now, again, we know how long a year can be, and we have a year until we have more than a year until it's time to send representatives to Congress, new ones, and the incumbents who prevail. It seems like so far away. It's hard for me to actually make a solid declaration because there are just so many unknowns. This is theoretic calculus. We're so far beyond the reality. We're into theory and then the moving of the theory. So, punt.
Now, do you think that groups like Time's Up and Me Too and various groups that have been advocating for men who think that they still should be able to do certain things with their female colleagues, do they see this as a victory? Because a lot of people, as we talked on Monday, a lot of people were resigning because of Andrew Cuomo while Andrew Cuomo was still in office. So is this really a win for them?
This is a Pyrrhic victory. This is a Pyrrhic victory because what it illustrated very clearly is that those who know how to work the system can go far working that system. Andrew Cuomo being able to call on, for lack of a better term, his female allies to circle around him and say, he's a good guy. Yay, he's a good guy. And then when it came out, he's not such a good guy, at least in the 11 instances that the James administration could find evidence for. That's just what evidence was found for. Okay. It made the organizations that rallied around and came to support their friend look like fallible human organizations that, maybe shouldn't be given the ability to, not that they have the ability to, make claims go away or whatnot, but it causes a more skeptic eye to be laid upon them. Rightly so, I would argue. Now, let's look at Letitia James for a moment. This is the first Black person. This is the first Black woman to be elected as Attorney General in New York State. And Andrew Cuomo was a huge supporter of hers, and there were a number of her opposition who said, if ever it comes down to her having to investigate the governor, they're chums. She's not going to do it. She's going to be biased. She's not going to serve her role. She's going to serve her friend, and we should be skeptical of her and her ability to serve. Well, we see that when all of this came to pass, and it was Andrew Cuomo's office, likely himself, but at least his office that tapped her to investigate these claims of sexual harassment. Attorney General James said, all right, you my boy, I'm too close. I recuse myself. I will oversee the investigation, but we're bringing in independents. And the independent investigators came in, did the research, found out what they did. And when the press conference happened, such that Attorney General James stood up and no one knew what she was going to say, there was quite a bit of speculation that she was going to go, "Oh, Andrew Cuomo is still my friend. He's my friend to the end." And she got up there and said, "I believe women. I believe these women. This is what we found. This is what we found here. We found here." And she said that, to the total of 11. She laid out that this investigation was thoroughly done. It was thoroughly overseen, and that the state of New York has an obligation to provide a safe workplace for those women, and it failed.
Okay.
in
Jamila,
that.
we'll have to put a pin in that, and we'll be back in a moment because we got to go to break. You are listening to The Source on 900 on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. I'm Denise Clay Murray, filling in for Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be back with more in a moment.
In Philly, COVID-19 vaccines are safe, free, and effective. It protects you from contracting the COVID-19 virus. Vaccines do not change your DNA or contain microchips. Caribbean people are not immune to the deadly virus without COVID-19 vaccine shots, and it does not affect your immigration status. Join us for our back-to-school COVID-19 vaccination resource fair on Saturday, August 21st from 11 to 3 p.m. at Sturgis Recreation Center in Albany. Free food, school supplies, and vaccines. Visit www.caribbeancommunityinphiladelphia.com, Facebook or Instagram page.
What is dedication?
The thing that drives me every day as a dad is Dariana. We call him Day for short. Every day he's hungry for something, whether it's attention, affection, knowledge. And there's this huge responsibility in making sure that when he's no longer under my wing, that he's a good person. I want him to be able to sit back one day and go, "We worked together, we did a good job."
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Want the latest in Word swag? Check out the shop tab on WordRadio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WordRadio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media.
Jefferson Health offers no-cost COVID-19 testing sites at St. Raymond of Pinafort Church. Testing is on Thursdays and Saturdays. A second testing location has been added at Richard Allen Preparatory Charter School. Testing is on Wednesdays and Fridays. For testing hours and more information, visit jeffersonhealth.org/community testing.
You're listening to The Source
on WURD Radio,
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
And we're back with more of The Source. I'm Denise Clay Murray, in for Andrea Lawful Sanders, and you're listening to WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. And my guest is Jamila Bey. She's an independent journalist and talk show host based in D.C. And we're talking about the resignation of Andrew Cuomo as governor of New York. He had 11 credible allegations of sexual harassment leveled at him, and he's still possibly looking at criminal charges. So much to the surprise of a lot of us, he decided to step down because, like I said, I've interacted with the man covering politics, and if anyone would have told me that he would have stepped down because of this, I'd have looked at him like they were crazy because he's just that stubborn. But I guess when you have the entire Democratic Party, the state legislature, and the attorney general that you helped campaign for telling you, dude, you're in trouble, you eventually stop digging to get yourself out of the hole. And Jamila, I wanted to ask you, because this is something we kind of touched on yesterday, how much did his brother's troubles or prospective troubles at CNN figure into this, do you think? Because I'm sure that at some point Chris Cuomo took his brother off to the side and said, "Man, you're messing up my bag. And I got a $6 million bag, and I kind of like to keep it because, my wife likes this house, and my kids like going to whatever school they're going to. So, you got to get up so I don't lose my bag."
I can only imagine that there was some not so brotherly love going on between the brothers Cuomo of late. Chris Cuomo, of course, the CNN host, and Is he a reporter or is he just I don't know. Anyway, he's CNN guy. Should have been taken off the air way sooner than he was. We of the media, we who report on media, absolutely looked more than askance at CNN, at Chris Cuomo, because of how they handled this. Yesterday, we went way into cases of, oh, I couldn't have done that. Oh, she couldn't have done that. What makes him so different? I guess why. The fact that, again, the president of the United States called for Andrew Cuomo's resignation. The attorney general of the state of New York, his girl, his buddy, called for those credible allegations to go forward, which means potential criminal prosecution. He played his greatest hits or greatest touches or whatever in his own press conference. He admitted that he did this, and again, why would he say this? Why would he say he did it if he wants to? He did it credibly at least 11 times. Mm-hmm. He admitted he touches everybody. What that means is his brother was going to have a hard time showing up at work at CNN talking about anything else without making people look at Chris Cuomo and thinking of Andrew Cuomo. Anything coming out of CNN about Andrew Cuomo, people, the viewers, we media critics absolutely should have thought, well, I wonder if Chris Cuomo is feeding this information to his brother, Andrew Cuomo. I wonder if Andrew Cuomo is helping Chris Cuomo to craft the narrative to make Andrew Cuomo governor seem what's the word I'm looking here for?
Less egregious.
Less egregious, yes. Like a mammal, like someone we could all believe breathes air and has, has mammalian characteristics. I don't understand why he would play that video. I am literally shell shocked that he would do such a thing. There's no way that Chris Cuomo did not, his reputation, his potential role at CNN did not come under intense scrutiny by the mere fact that he was allowed to advise his brother and stay on the air. I cannot believe that there will be no further repercussion for CNN's Chris Cuomo, but there really needs to be, because again, as we spoke at length yesterday, media organizations all over the place have policies that require recusal when the reporter or the host is too close to a story. But for some reason, the brothers Cuomo were allowed to do their thing and carry on as they would. It really makes no sense, and CNN should not get away without some serious reflection and some serious criticism for how they've handled this.
Okay, now, if you would like to join us in this conversation, the call-in numbers are 215-634-8065 and toll-free, which means if you're calling from anywhere in the known world outside of Philadelphia, it's 866-361-0900, and we'd love to hear from you. And Jamila, while I have you here, and it's something that we were kind of talking about yesterday at various points, just before, during the break, we heard a commercial about an event that's coming up here in Philly that includes vaccinations for COVID, in which people were being told that COVID does not put the vaccine does not put microchips in your system. The vaccine does not, affect your DNA. and various other things that are things that I have heard from more than a few people of color when I have discussed the vaccine with them. As someone who is a media critic, when you hear stuff like that, you know, what does that make you think? Do you think that we're not doing a good enough job of talking to people about how this is misinformation and we really need to put a handle on that?
Okay. No swearing, Jamila, no swearing.
No swearing.
Denise, I think that's a fabulous question, and it's one that we should consider at every turn. How indeed do we, as part of American media, reach out and share information, particularly in a climate where for the past 4 years, Americans have been told that we are enemies of the state, that we put forth fake news, and that we are not to be trusted. This is what happens when you don't make your kids read Orwell. This is what happens when you don't make young people learn how to discern whether they're being sold to or what is the motivation of the person who's giving you this information. There's a maxim in journalism: if your mother says she loves you, check it out. And it doesn't matter if you are certain of a thing. You being a journalist, you are always supposed to challenge your own feelings and beliefs, and that is the mark of a classical education. Always question your own beliefs and what have you. The media has the responsibility to ask that of its listeners. If you want to believe that this person you don't like is horrible and they kick puppies in their spare time, you can probably find a news story from some not reputable source to show you that. When we have a nation full of people who can't discern between a blog post that's written in someone's basement because everyone's a broadcaster with a phone and a laptop, and something that actually goes through an editorial process and what have you, it makes it hard to come back and say, I know you think this vaccination is bull hockey, but it's actually not. Well, it was rushed into production. That's what emergencies cause. They cause alacrity of movement. They cause things to happen quickly, to come to the aid of the moment. The vaccines have, this is a vaccine for a novel virus. Humans haven't seen COVID-19 before, but the technology is similar to vaccines that we've been proving effective for the past 40, 50 years. Yes, this particular vaccine is new in that it attacks a virus that only came into human circulation about 2 years ago, but the method is the same. Also, what I need folks to do is, okay, if you're listening to Queen Hoo-Hoo or Dr. Queen Hoo-Hoo, the natural guru, or whatever she goes by, or doctor, and only doctor because I call myself that and I have a gray beard and a receding hairline. You want to do a couple things. You want to say, where did you matriculate? Did you actually go to a medical school? Have you ever practiced in a place where you didn't put out your own shingle, where the state will license you? Nobody's saying don't eat healthy and don't exercise and whatnot, But I have to ask everybody, particularly those of us who have been kissed by the sun and have beautiful kinky hair, please look up Dr. Susan Moore with an E on the end of it, M-O-O-R-E, Dr. Susan Moore. She was the 52-year-old physician, medical doctor, who foretold her own death on YouTube. She was laying in a bed with an oxygen cannula in her nose, explaining that she was not getting the standard of care. She was COVID-19 positive at the hospital she worked at, being denied pain medication and appropriate interventions for someone who was as sick as she was. She wound up dying. If you get COVID, beautiful people kissed by the sun, you have a greater chance of incurring medical bias. You have a greater chance of not getting the standard of care when you show up in pain and short of breath. So you have to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? I can still do, can I do CMOS and sunbaths and, get my chakra cons aligned? If you can still do that and do what is medically advised.
Okay, we have a call. It's Lola from Jenkintown. She's on line 1. Thank you for joining us on The Source, Lola.
Yes, thank you so much for taking my call. Everybody has an opinion, and I just want to put that out there. And if you're not a doctor or whatever, doctor, lawyer, whatever, in your specialty, I think it's just your opinion. And so what I'm getting ready to say is my opinion. I'm educated. I live up in Jenkintown. I have a nice career. I don't feel that Cuomo should have stepped down. And I hear the guests talking and stuff. And, I mean, this is the thing why I'm tired of the Dems. I'm over them. We back them. We do everything for them. The president should not have said anything. We never fight hard enough. And this is, again, my opinion, and it might not go over well with people, but this is what white women do. And we have the Emmett Tills, we have Tulsa burned down, we have you can't barbecue, you can't sell water here, you can't do this here, you can't do that here, and then we go around and then we are victimized and terrorized, and they are weaponized by the 911 and the system that goes for them, going back to our enslaved ancestors, and then they can go and just say, oh, they did this, right, and then he also did this. They play to win, and they play the game. I work in corporate America, and I just do not feel in my gut that he should have stepped down. He should have fought just as hard as these Republicans do. You have Matt Gaetz still in office, and I know people are going to say, oh, we don't do what they do. Yeah, that's why we always lose. That's why we always lose everything, the Democrats. They still haven't passed the George Floyd bill. They still haven't passed the voter bill, but Chinese people been hurt with a little bit of time, and they done already passed that bill. Black people are always on in the back front of everything that goes on. So instead of speaking about Cuomo, won't you speak about getting that voter bill passed? Won't you speak about using your whatever, I don't know, he doesn't have the power over all of them, but he's been in the politics and that House and that Senate and around all those people 30, 40, 50 years. Why don't you use some of that and get these bills passed that we put you in office for, and just leave. I'm just really upset with the Dems because Gates is still there. You have all these other people who are still in office who have they're embezzled and taxed off, and they back them. They don't do anything. And I just feel like he should afford it. And then they turn around, and I'm not blaming Letitia James. I follow her. I know her. I'm not blaming her. I know when you go to the doctor and you tell the doctor, I'm in pain. I don't feel good. They're going to most times believe you. I'm saying I know that we have a lot of medical things that go on that harm black people, but that's why we need to get black doctors if you can find one. But if you go and tell your doctor, I'm in pain, this is hurting, they have to take what you say. And so this is what my thing is. They took what those women said. And no. These are the same women who have done what they have done to us, and then you just go ahead and believe them and tear down. Now he's gone, and now it's going to open it up because that's going to become a Republican state because they're going to get somebody in there that's going to be a Republican. And I just don't feel like over and over again that we should keep falling for the okie doke. We need to put put our eyes on the prize. And Biden, don't say anything else about anything until you pass those voter bills, until you sign them. Until you sign those the suppression bill that they're trying to do to us, and until you get that George Floyd bill passed. I don't want to hear anything from him or any of them. Resign, resign, resign. You don't hear. Look what Trump did. Look how he pushed in there. The only way that Trump didn't get in this second time is because black people stood out in line, older people, all kinds of other people stood out, different races stood out in line and got him in there after Claiborne got him pushed over in South Carolina. So miss me with this. I'm just really not feeling this thing about Cuomo. Who's next? They're going to take these states back, and they're going to be Republican. You watch and you see. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Lola, for taking the time to call on The Source. Jamila, I know you have a response, but we got to go to break. You're listening to The Source on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. I'm Denise Clay, Denise Clay Murray. See, I forgot my husband's last name. Filling in for Andrea Lawful Sanders today, and we'll be back with more in a moment.
Hi, this is John.
Hi, this is Juanita, owners of JD's Auto Body and Painting. We're located at 6300 Wayne Avenue, right there at the intersection of Wayne and Washington Lane.
We really like to thank all you WURD listeners for the support that you've given our business, and we really hope to see you in the future.
JD, tell them about our products and services we have.
We have a new state-of-the-art paint shop along with our body shop and detail shop. We can help you with the dents and scratches from the winter season.
Come to JD's Auto Body and Painting. Come on out and check us out. We're still honoring that WURD 10% discount. Give us a call, 215-848-5949. Again, 215-848-5949.
Thanks again for supporting our business. We really appreciate you.
See you at JD's Auto Body and Painting.
Join the African American Chamber of Commerce for their signature Building Back Black initiative, a national convening of mayors on Wednesday, August 11th at 9 a.m. This is a free online event featuring mayors from across the country, moderated by 6 ABC Action News anchor Shari Williams, and hosted by the African American Chamber of Commerce President Regina A. Hairston. This town hall reflects on the current state of black businesses in these cities with highly dense African American populations. Additionally, local Philadelphia thought leaders are featured in this special, providing local insight and perspective. This is a free online event hosted in partnership with WURD Radio's Livelihood Initiative. Visit mayorsconvening2021.eventbrite.com to register today. Join WURD for the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour. This year, we celebrate West Oak Lane, Mantua, North, West, and South Philly. I'm Tiffany Bacon. I'll broadcast live from a different neighborhood each Friday from 10 a.m. until 12 noon. Our next stop is North Philly at the Martin Luther King Recreation Center, 2101 Cecil B. Moore Avenue on Friday, August 13th. Pick up voter registration information, meet special guests, and stand with WURD and be a part of the movement to amplify the voice of the black community. Show your support and join or renew your 4WURD membership on site. That's the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour at the Martin Luther King Recreation Center from 10 a.m. until 12 noon, Friday, August 13th. WURD, showing love this summer.
The WURD Radio Neighborhood Love Tour is sponsored by Comcast and supported by PICO, Keystone First, Ready Set Philly, and Hope Partnership for Education.
You're listening to The Source
on WURD Radio,
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
And we're coming into the home stretch on today's edition of The Source. My name is Denise Clay Murray, and you're listening to me on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. And we have a call on line 2. It's Bobby from Southwest. Hi, Bobby, and welcome to The Source.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say, and maybe I got this wrong, last week I went to the city hall because I thought that there was going to be a confrontation or conversation. I want to make it sound worse than what, because I know it was purposeful. But anyway, I went there, no one was there, so I don't know if I got the day wrong or whatever. I thought it was on that Friday, so I'm a little disappointed about that. But here's the real issue and my big concern. I've been out of work since the the virus, okay? And I've been filing for my unemployment for almost a year straight through, right? I have not received not one dime. At first I thought it was like a selective thing because I'm a black woman. I'm just going to be straightforward whenever things are unfair to my population of people. I always think of selective choice of addressing people problems or being racist straight out. But here's the problem. I learned that this is going on in every state, that people are not receiving their unemployment, but yet you still need to file each week. So what I've done, and I got on Facebook and came across this job where it's job posting, but there's a section where people discuss the fact that they too have not received any of their unemployment payment, right, which is supposed to be a weekly issuing, right? So I've decided to file a lawsuit against Philadelphia Unemployment because it's a government entity and it can be, you can file a lawsuit against them. I started talking to several people on the job page, and they're coming on board with me because people are so fearful. There's people crying that they're getting ready to lose their home or their apartment, et cetera, et cetera. But what I learned was first I had to find out where does those funds originate from on the federal level that comes down to the state. So I'm going to find out who each individual are, their position in that, and their names shall be listed on the lawsuit. Also, I found lawyers that literally represent people who do not get fair treatment with unemployment. I don't know if anybody else is affected by this, but I think it's totally unfair. Huh?
To be honest, I have been hearing stories like yours from people for months now. In fact, a story just came out in one of the newspapers today that said that New Jersey had the worst incidence of people getting their unemployment in terms of filing through the state, because basically the federal government gives unemployment funds to the states to distribute. And the problem that they're having in Pennsylvania right now is there are not enough people to handle all the claims. For some reason, they didn't put enough people in the budget to handle all the claims, even with the pandemic coming around. In fact, they had cut people at one time.
Okay, so this is the thing, man. I'm sorry. Please let me just say that, and I'll listen to you.
No, go ahead.
Okay, this is my thing. When government writes a legislation or present an article to be voted upon, they don't put in the exception but in case of an event that we can't. Because, see, we're in the age of technology. We're in the age where people are working from at home. We're in an age where it doesn't take that much power to email each individual who's supposed to receive unemployment the courtesy to say, listen, the state is having a problem. We apologize for not sending you any money for almost a year. We're sorry you're going to be in the streets with hundreds of thousands of other people. But these people are still going to work. If they're this badly set up, then they need to, what do you call that term when the government sell their operation for someone else to do and they pay the company? That's what they should do. They should call in either one of those work companies that have people who come in and do certain jobs and things of that nature. That's not going to help us, and I'm saying hundreds of thousands of people who have children who can't pay their rent. My landlady is a good person, but she only going to be good for so long. I'm 70 years old, and if I'm outside at 70 years old because the government is not giving me what is right for me, because they never hesitate to say, this week we're going to miss you, or this week we're not going to take it out of your check. So if that happens, I'm going to jail because I'm throwing rocks.
Oh, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Wow. Jamila, if Jamila Bay
talk about Lola.
Yes.
Sister Lola from Jenkintown, I believe it was.
Yes.
Came out throwing elbows. She started with Carolyn Bryant, the white woman that lied on that baby Emmett Till, from Money, Mississippi. First time going to, or rather from Chicago, went to Money, Mississippi. Allegedly, we know it wasn't no allegedly. She lied on that child and got him killed. White women's weaponization of their air quotes around virtue is a reality. It is why every Black mother of a son will tell you the way we have to have conversations with our children around dating and interacting is different than what even white mothers have to, tell their sons around consent and how to interact in the dating mating game that all humans involve themselves with. Hashtag not all humans. The reality is, I think Sister Lola made some really incredible points. I think that part of the reckoning that happened last year around race in this country has to deal with the fact that there are a whole lot of people that go, I'm a good person and I never even thought of these things. I'm a good person, and I voted this way because this is what my evangelical church told me to do, or this I never considered that it was different for other people. And when we consider these differences, and when we recognize that they can be boiled down in political terms and political reality, the differences that we face, yes, all being Americans for this particular conversation, but coming from different places, coming from different backgrounds, absolutely makes a difference. And the ability for the GOP to go tribal and to circle around their accused. They don't care whether the accused actually did it or not. They circle around. It goes back to Ronald Reagan, before him even, but Ronald Reagan made the point that no Republican will speak ill of another Republican. That's not what we do. We will always support. We will always defend. And we see that happens pathologically.
Jamila, I kind of got to cut you off because we got to go. But thank you so much for being a part of today's show and for also coming in on short notice for me. I really appreciate that.
Always.
But that's it for today's edition of The Source. I'm Denise Clay Murray. I'll be back here on Thursday hosting the show. And I hope that you all will take the time to listen to us. And I want to thank my guests, Jamila Bey, DC-based independent journalist, Jamal Johnson, who is literally walking from Philadelphia to DC to dramatize the issues of police brutality and gun violence, and Darren Tolliver, the Associate Director of the African American Resource Center at the University of Pennsylvania, and Linda Miller, one of the organizers of the Rally for Urgency, a protest against gun violence at City Hall last week. And also, I'd like to thank you, the people who took the time to listen and call in and participate in today's edition of The Source. And now stay tuned for Evening Word with Nick Taliaferro, certainly one of my favorite programs. And I hope you'll take a moment to listen. And thank you, and I'll see you on Thursday. Bye now.